Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite show on the internet, Raw Law Unfiltered, with your favorite host of all time, the DUI Guy. Plus, today we are going to continue with the Karen Reed jury trial. Oh my goodness, folks. Oh my goodness. Ashley Valier is on the witness stand from the Massachusetts State Police Laboratory. I can't decide if she's 12 or male. I started singing. I remember 2 days ago when she was on the witness stand, I started singing randomly, I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. Just not even thinking. And Chandler just started laughing her ass off. And I didn't realize that, apparently it was pretty funny. I don't know. You guys be the judge. Um, yeah. Today, we're going to be hearing a lot of that. So brace yourselves. It's going to be a long morning. Hopefully, we're going to be getting to the cross examination pretty soon. I cannot wait for the cross examination, folks. I think the cross examination of Ashley Valier is literally going to be the creme de la creme because she's barely holding on direct examination. What do you think is going to happen on cross examination? Like, seriously, do you honestly think she's suddenly? Oh, okay. Let me pause this so the fan doesn't like kill us. Oh, the glare is in the courtroom today. Nice. Very nice. We have confirmation of this. Why do I hear myself? Oh, it's because I have myself going on my phone. Whoopsies. Sorry about that. I was going to message you guys, let you guys know that I'm having some technical difficulties. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to set it to live, and then I'm going to make myself full screen. Okay, so we'll hear it if it starts. That way it doesn't give you guys a spinning headache. Turtle Boy posted a picture. Let's go check it out. Oh, by the way, I just want to show this to you guys real quick. I think I found who made this. I think I finally found who made this, and they deserve a freaking medal. Watch this. Have you guys seen this yet?
Goodbye.
God, this is too good. Oh shoot. Oh, oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see. Turtle Boy, Dr. Turtle Boy Aiden Kearney. Here we go. Update, they made me turn the shirt inside out. It's just a big Ken Mello fan. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Special surprise. The glare is in the house and will be in the courtroom. Check this out. Yeah, there it is. There it is, folks. That is cool. Good for him. That is awesome. That is so cool. I hope the glare is going to get a kick out of this. Yeah. The glare is just another guy who lives in Massachusetts, and he has been streaming this trial as well. This is his logo. You may have seen it. It's like the blue and red, like planets or whatever. See, he's been streaming stuff about the Karen Reed case. He's not a lawyer, but you know, he can still give factual analysis. Excuse me. What's taking them so long, by the way? It's already 9/11. Oh, he lives in Tennessee. Wait, why did I think? Huh. Nice. That is awesome. I'm going to be flying to Massachusetts a week from today. Tomorrow, my girlfriend and I are flying on a secret mission. And I'll be back on Monday. So there'll be no stream Friday, no stream Monday, unfortunately. There'll be a stream today, and there'll be a stream tomorrow morning. There'll be no stream Friday, no stream Monday. There will be a stream on Tuesday. There we go. Court's back. There'll be a stream on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week, Chandler is going to be streaming it because I'm going to be in Massachusetts.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All parties having anything to do before the Honorable First Justice W. Canoni, now sitting in the Dedham Superior Court with and for the County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth and this good court. Thank you. May be seated for the now in session.
Good morning, thanks, Jim.
22117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Counselor, could I have you identify yourselves for the record?
Adam Lally for the Commonwealth. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the
Good
Commonwealth.
morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson from the Suite.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, Elizabeth Little also.
Good morning, Ms. Little.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Giannetti for Karen.
Good morning, Ms. Giannetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. So I have to ask you those same three questions. Were you able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left here on Monday? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case since we were last here? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left here the other day? Everyone said no or sure. Okay, thank you. May we have Ms. Vaillier, please?
Just watch your step again.
Maintain your face apart. You raise your hand. You solemnly swear the evidence you record and jury in the case down here to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Sure. Vallier.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Now, Ms. Vaillier, when we had left off the other day, I believe you had just looked at some photos of item 7-16. Is that correct? If you recall.
It's been a few days.
Approach, Your Honor.
Yes.
And Ms. Vaillier, I'm going to show you a series of 6 photographs. Ask you to just review those.
All right, so I'm going to remind both of you to keep your voices up. Mr. Lally, when you're facing the witness and you're this close, I guarantee you nobody behind you can hear you.
Understood. Hey, Ms. Vaillier, do you recognize what's in those photographs?
I do.
And what do you recognize those to be?
Photos that I took of item 7-16.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth will seek to introduce in a minute the next exhibits. Can I just see them, please?
No objection.
Your Honor, for the record, those are exhibits 332, 333, 369, 370, 371, and 372. Thank you. 332 and 333, which skipped over. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. With the court's permission, may I have those published for the jury?
Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2059. And Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's up on the screen as that photograph, which is now been marked as exhibit 332?
Yes.
Is that one of the items from 7-16 next to the ruler with the measurements corresponding to that item?
Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2081. I believe 2061. My apologies. And Ms. Blair, what's up on the screen is that another piece from 7-16 that's now been marked as exhibit 369?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Blair, as far as this particular item is concerned, with reference to sort of the texture of that particular piece of plastic, what, if anything, did you note or observe in reference to that?
I'm sorry, the texture?
I'm sorry, do you have the laser pointer in front of you or no?
Yes.
Now, as far as the surface area of that particular piece of plastic, how would you describe that?
I mean, there are little dots on it. They're not just like dimples of a sort.
Stippling or dimples of some sort on a piece of plastic?
Yes.
And as far as those sicklings or dimples on the piece of plastic, were those flush with the rest of the plastic? Were they raised a little bit? How were they sort of configured?
I don't recall.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 20. Forgive me, Your Honor. 064. And again, Ms. Blair, what's up on the screen has now been marked as exhibit 371. Do you recognize that?
I do.
And that is another piece next to a ruler, essentially memorializing its measurements from item 7-16. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Ms. Blair, I'm showing you another series of 11 photographs. Ask you to look at those and look up to the finish.
Can you tell Ms. Giannetti what those are so he can look at his copies?
Counsel was shown each and every one of the photographs prior to the court coming in today. But I'm happy to give them to counsel as well.
I'm just trying to save some time.
Right, I just need to know the particular evidence numbers at the end.
Do you recognize those?
I do.
And what do you recognize those to be?
Photos that I took of item 7-16.
So additional items contained within item 7-16, is that correct?
Yes.
And what's contained in those photographs, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed during the course of your examination and analysis in regard to item 7-16 in this case?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, the Commonwealth will seek to introduce and admit as the next 11 exhibits.
Any objection?
I'm not going to have an objection, but again, I just need to know what numbers.
Can we just have a moment, Ron?
Mhm. Thank you.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could publish some of the photos from this packet for the jury.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2036. And Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's up on the screen as exhibit 373?
That was one of the photos I just looked at.
And as far as the evidence bag containing items from 7-16, is that correct?
Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 2039. And again, Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's up on the screen, which has now been marked as exhibit 374?
I do.
And what do you recognize those to be?
A photo that I took of item 7-16.
And that would be the entirety of the items contained within that evidence bag from the prior exhibit, is that correct?
Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 2051. And again, Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's depicted up on the screen?
I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
A photo I took of item 7-16.
And in particular, one of the
Can you speak up a little, sorry,
Yeah.
a little bit
Yes.
slower? Thank you.
in particular, one of the red plastic pieces from item 7-16, is that correct?
Yes.
And for the record, Your Honor, that's exhibit 376.
Okay.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2053. And again, Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's up on the screen, which has now been marked as exhibit 378?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
One of the photos that I took of item 7-16.
And lastly, from this batch, Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2055. And again, Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's up on the screen, which has now been marked as exhibit 38?
I do.
And what do you recognize that?
It's one of the photos that I took of item 7-16.
And this particular item up here as exhibit 380, piece, is that fair to say?
Within the same piece?
Yes.
Okay.
Apparent plastic, yes.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Valier, if you could describe for the jury again, just as far as the process that
Can we
you-
put the lights on, Mr. Lally?
Yes, I'm sorry. My apologies, Your Honor.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Ms. Valier, if you could explain to the jury again, sort of the process that you undertook as far as these various pieces from these various evidence item numbers. What was the process that you undertook as far as doing your comparison?
So first of all, everything is documented. Each item is documented separately with photographs, notes. I put a label with the case number, item number, and then A, B, C, etc. If there are multiple pieces in it, a label on each piece. I look at the photos to see if there are any similarities, dissimilarities, to see if there are any potential pieces to compare. And then if I do think that there are pieces that could be compared, I'll open those items and keep them all separate, and then look at them in real time to see if it does actually look like they could be consistent before I bring them close together. And if it still looks like they could be consistent, then I'll bring them together to see if there is an actual mechanical fit, and then I'll document that and look at it under the stereo zoom.
And the device or the instrument that you're looking at, again, could you describe for the jury again what that is?
So the stereo zoom is also called a stereo microscope. It's a microscope that is on a stand, so you can put larger pieces of evidence underneath it.
Now, as far as that initial sort of looking at things together, are you doing that?
Thanks, Matrix,
how
for the
are you
one gifted.
organizing that?
Really
Is that
appreciate
by
you.
Item number, by
Shout out if
color,
you got
or
a gifted membership from Matrix.
I
And
did this by
flashback.
color because it seemed the easiest way to organize all of these pieces.
Let me show you.
And then within the individual item number.
These are the earpieces I have. The Shure SE535 sound isolating headphones. They're about $500. And they're awesome.
So as far as the comparison is concerned, are you looking solely within an item? So if an item has multiple pieces, are you comparing just those pieces within that item first?
As part of my initial examination, when I'm documenting that item, if there are multiple pieces, I'll compare those pieces first.
And then if there are any pieces that are consistent, are you then cross-referencing that item's pieces with pieces from a different item?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm showing you another series of 19 photographs. Just ask you to review those a little bit.
By the way, thank you to the anonymous contributor to our campaign to help me go over the edge. Myself and my team, by the way. It's not just going to be me, because we're going for the 2,000 goal. The link is in the description below in case you're wondering what this is about. Rappelling off the roof of the Louisville Slugger Museum to support critically ill children. Hi, baby.
Do you recognize what's contained in those photographs, Ms. Valier?
I do.
And what do you recognize them to be?
I know, right, Summer Golden?
These are photos from my case of either within the same item that had a mechanical fit that I'd then taped together, or of mechanical fits from between different items.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll also seek to introduce in a minute the next 19 exhibits.
No objection, but have I seen those yet?
Morning.
Right,
I was going to hand them to you after they were marked.
that's fine.
It's up on the program. Hi, baby.
143-402. Thank you.
May I speak with counsel for 1 second?
While we're waiting for her to search for documents.
Thank you.
Before you get to the photos, Ms. Valier, if I could just ask as far as your analysis was concerned with reference to each of these items, if I could, excuse me, just ask you some questions about that. Starting first with item 3-1, that was the passenger side taillight housing, is that correct?
I believe so.
And you analyzed pieces of that along with the sort of housing unit itself, is that correct?
So, oh, do you mean like there was like the taillight and then there were smaller pieces also?
Correct.
Yes,
And you took measurements of the various pieces that you observed?
I did.
And did you record those within your notes?
I did.
Do you recall what those measurements were?
Not without looking at my notes.
With the court's permission, may the witness refer to our notes?
Yes.
Your witness is ready, Mr. Valier.
And what were those measurements?
Do you want all of them?
All of them?
Yes. I mean, first starting with reference to the taillight housing assembly.
Okay, so the taillight I called piece A in this case, and it measured approximately 14 inches by 9 inches by 8 1/4 inches.
And then which of the pieces that were contained within that sort of taillight evidence bag did you compare to the taillight housing itself?
So there was a lot of like very, very small pieces that I took pictures of, but they're very, very small, so they were not suitable for comparison, so I didn't look at those. There were some larger pieces that I did that were suitable for comparison, so I did look to see if they fit in with piece A.
And with regard to that analysis of whether or not they fit in with piece A, which of those pieces did you find did fit?
So amongst item 3-1, let's see. Piece A and piece B fit together mechanically, and then piece A and piece F fit together mechanically.
F is in Frank.
F is in Frank, yes.
Okay, so she's good at puzzles.
Maybe
Next
pretty
witness.
apparent, but if you could, Ms. Valier, just expound upon what you mean when you say they fit together mechanically.
So when things break, they break in a like unique pattern. Like it's pretty different every time. So a mechanical fit is bringing two things with broken edges together to see if they were originally part of the same item. See if they if the broken edges align. And if they do, then that's a mechanical fit.
Now, turning your attention to item 7-5, you looked at those various pieces together as well. Is that correct?
I did.
I believe so.
And were there any 3 pieces in total from 7-5, so A, B, and C? Is that correct as well?
May I look at my notes?
Sydney.
Yes.
Yes.
And what, if any, match did you find with within item 7-5?
There were no mechanical fits amongst those 3 items or 3 pieces of the item.
And with reference to item 7-6, there were 2 pieces, A and B, within that. Is that correct?
You
May
can
I?
look.
Okay. Yes.
And were there any physical matches within those 2 pieces of item 7-6?
No.
Now turning your attention to item 7.
There's food.
How many pieces
Thank you,
were contained
babe.
within that?
If I may look at my.
Can you pick up the pen? She knocked it over.
Yeah.
There were 14 pieces.
She's like, she didn't like it
Of
over
those
there, so she
14
just knocked it over.
pieces, They were
Within
each
her way.
compared to each other.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And what, if any, mechanical fit did you find between the pieces?
Stop it with the
of
ums. You're
7-6?
making it worse.
So
Sorry.
pieces C and D
I'm sorry, fam. I'm
were found to
sorry.
fit together mechanically, and then pieces E and F were found to fit together mechanically.
Lauren, may we approach, please?
Thank you, Mari, for being a member for 2 months. Also, thank you, Plumber Mike, for the $4.99 super sticker. And Saddle Up Vicky Sue says there's so much more to the story in John's clothes that they didn't go over. Lollipop. That's a cool name. Lollipop. Lollipop is wasting time. The pattern ran of stains on his sweater tell a better story than the stupid plastic. You guys are hilarious this morning. Like, oh my God. Chandler, tell Larry to stop pointing out the ums. Please make it stop.
Do you think I have any control over this man?
Did you hear her? She said, ask Chad, do I have any control over this man? If you didn't hear it.
You are unmuted.
$715 ums so far. Oh, really? Interesting.
Ms. Vaillier, turning your attention to item 7-.
Or muted.
You analyzed 3 pieces from that. Is that correct?
Oh my God, kill me now.
Okay.
You don't want mixed.
Oh God.
Okay. Sorry, could you repeat your question?
Well, how many pieces were contained again within item 7-9?
3 pieces, 7-9,
Yes.
3 pieces.
And what, if any, physical matches did you find contained within that item 7-9?
There were no mechanical fits.
And with reference to 7-10, how many pieces?
1 piece.
And with reference to item 7-11, how many pieces contained within that?
6 pieces.
And what, if any, physical matches did you find contained within 7-11?
There were none.
In 7-11, how many different colors of pieces were contained within 7-11?
There was black, red, and colorless apparent plastic.
Now, with reference to item 7-12, how many pieces were contained within that?
There were 14 pieces.
And of those pieces, again, how many different colors or how many different colors of pieces were within 7-12?
They were all colorless.
And from those, what, if any, mechanical fits did you observe or did you find within item 7-12?
Okay. So there were 3. Do you want me to say all the pieces that fit together?
Please.
Okay. So pieces B, C, D, F, and K all fit together. Pieces E and I fit together. And pieces M and N fit together.
Now, turning your attention to
B-Rad says, for your awesome Thank you, B-Rad. Somebody
3
likes
pieces.
it. Thank you so much for the generous donation,
How many
B-Rad.
different colors
Honestly,
of items
thank
were
you.
contained within 7-12?
See, now I'm doing
It
it
was
for the
red
love
and
of God.
black
I need
apparent
to.
plastic.
This woman has
What, if any,
infected
physical
me.
matches did you find within item 7-13?
There were none.
My
Turning your
boy
attention to item
Lollipop says,
7-14,
it's a lot.
How many pieces were
And welcome Martha D to the channel. Thank you for joining
There
us
was
as a
one
member.
piece.
And Ria
What
Glow
color was
as
that
well.
one
Thank you
piece?
so much for joining us.
It
as a
was
member.
colorless.
And turning your attention to item 7-15, how many pieces were contained within that?
There were 8 pieces.
And as far as those 8 pieces, how many items were of different color? What color were they?
They were red and colorless apparent plastic.
And of those 8 pieces, what, if any, mechanical fits did you find within them?
So piece F and piece H were found to fit together.
And turning your attention to item 7-16, how many pieces were contained within 7-16?
There were 7 pieces.
And of those 7 pieces, what, if any, differences in color were the 7 pieces within 7-16?
It was red and colorless apparent plastic.
And of those pieces, what, if any, mechanical fits did you find within 7-16?
So pieces A, C, and D fit together mechanically.
Now, with reference to those pieces, once you did those inspection from or analysis from the individual items, what, if anything, did you do with those individual items with reference to the taillight housing?
So before even comparing it to the taillight, I compared all of the questioned items to each other. So that's the 7-5 to 7-19 to see if any of those pieces would fit together. And amongst those, I was able to make 5 larger pieces that I called piece 1 through piece 5.
Ria Glow says, I'm here for
Those,
it.
larger pieces, which of those larger pieces were you able to mechanically fit together prior to comparing them to the taillight housing?
Sorry, can you?
From your analysis of those larger pieces and analyzing them together with other larger pieces, what, if any, opinions did you draw? What, if any, conclusions did you come to as far as your analysis of those pieces?
So for the larger pieces amongst the different items that fit together mechanically, I can see that those items were once a part of the same unit.
Wow, that's a genius conclusion. Not.
And so I guess what I'm asking, Ms. Vaillier, is with reference to, say, item 7-6 or 7-5, or the items in and of themselves, which of those items were you, if any, were you able to find mechanically fit with each other?
Amongst sorry, are you asking me which specific items made up piece 1?
Correct.
Okay, I can. Okay. Okay, so piece 1 contained pieces from items 7-5, 7-8, 7-10, 7-11, 7-13, 7-15, and 7-16.
And then, so based on their mechanical fit, what, if any, conclusion did you draw in reference to those several items?
That those specific pieces from all of those items were at one time together as part of a larger unit.
And then what, if any, comparison or analysis did you do of items between item 7-15 and item 7-16?
So pieces from item 7-15 and 7-16 were part of piece 1. I could look through my notes and see if they're a part of any of the other pieces that I fit together.
With the board's permission.
Okay.
Welcome, Brittany Odell. Thank you for joining us as a member. Man, StreamYard is glitching today.
Okay, so piece 2 consisted of pieces from item 7-15 and 7-16.
And then with reference to items.
Oh, you guys are
7-6
crazy.
and 7-11, what if
No.
what if anything did you observe between the?
Idea. For all the ums, she says, let's donate $1 each. This is for the first 100. B-Red, you are insane. There are 780
So
ums.
piece
I'm not going to
3
make people do that.
consisted of pieces from item 7-6 and 7-11.
And similar to what you were
There's
describing.
like 781
15 and
ums.
16 as far as them mechanically fitting together, and now
We
I'm
all need
talking about
vaccinations.
7-6 and 7-11.
Seems to be spreading.
What, if any, conclusions did you draw in regard?
I mean, it's a cute idea, but that's
that those pieces
thank you
from
for
item
starting the
7,
train going, I
item
guess.
7-6 and item 7-11 were at one time together as a larger unit.
And then as far as item 7-8, 7-9, and part of 7-16, what, if anything, did you? Were you able
Well,
to-
I'm going to leave it up to you guys, but that's a lot of money.
So piece number 4 consisted of pieces from item 7-8, 7-9, and 7-16.
And as far as mechanically fitting those pieces together, again, what, if any, conclusions did you come to in reference to those items 7, 8, 7, 9, and 7?
Yeah, B-Red is trying to
that those
bankrupt
pieces
you all.
from item 7-8,
That's what I'm
7-9,
saying. That's a
and
lot of money.
7-16 were at one time together as a larger unit.
Now, lastly, with reference to this, in reference to item 7-12 and 7-14.
But thank you,
What, if any,
B-Red.
analysis,
Thank you very
with
much.
reference to pieces from those items?
Sorry, which item?
And thank you,
7-12
Plumber
and
Mike.
7-14.
I have item 7-11 and 7-12 that fit together for piece number 5.
And Your Honor, with what's now been marked as exhibits 384 through 402, if I could ask to publish some of those to the jury.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2069. And Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's up on the screen as now exhibit 384?
I do.
And what are we looking at here?
Within item 7-16, those are pieces that were mechanically fit together.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 2096. And Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's now been marked as exhibit 386?
I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
So that is what I called piece 1. So the piece that is made up of apparent plastic pieces from many of the different items.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to just zoom in a little onto the middle of that photograph.
What exhibit number is this, Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor, this is 386. And from sort of this zoomed in version of 386, Ms. Blair, are you able to now see some of the stickers or the evidence stickers that you would put labeling each of these pieces?
Yes, that is avocado toast. Would you guys like some? Here. Here's a piece for you, chat.
So
I always like to
these
share.
labels right here are the labels that I put on each piece individually when I initially examine it.
Girlfriend made it. She's the best.
So all of the little white labels.
You want a poll? How many ums by the end of cross? Sure, I can do that.
Ms. Blair, do you recognize what's up on the screen and what has now been marked as exhibit 387?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That's still piece 1. It's just from a different angle.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have 2101. And Ms. Blair, you recognize what's up on the screen now?
What's the current count?
Marked as exhibit 390.
I do.
What are we looking at here?
That's still piece 1 from another photo taken from another angle.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 2103.
What is the current count?
And Ms. Blair, do you recognize what's up on the screen, which is now been marked as exhibit
793.
I do.
What are we looking at? Exhibit 390.
That is another
94.
angle of
Right.
piece one.
So let's see.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2107. Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's up on the screen, which has now been marked as exhibit 390?
All right, polls up.
I do.
And what are we looking at in exhibit 395?
May I look at my notes?
Sure.
Okay.
Polls up. What do you guys think? Current count is just under 800.
Okay.
1,200,
So that is
1,400,
piece
1,800, or
two.
over 2,000 by the time cross is over.
And Ms. Gilman,
Because we don't know how long cross is going to last.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just zoom in a little bit on the stickers on this photograph. And Ms. Valier, do you recognize?
There's a possibility cross will be 2 minutes, you know.
Exhibit 398.
I do.
What do you recognize that?
That is piece three.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2111. And Ms. Gilman, if you could zoom into the stickers. Thank you. Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's up on the screen, which is now marked as exhibit 399?
I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
That is piece four.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2113. Again, if you could zoom in just a little. And Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's up on the screen now that's been marked as exhibit 401?
I do.
What do you recognize that?
That is piece five.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
So, Ms. Valier, earlier I'd put before you another 23 photographs. Do you recognize what's depicted in those 23 photographs?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That's comparisons between item 3-1 and piece one.
And item 3-1 again was the tail light. Is that correct?
Thank you, Charmaine Fugate.
Your Honor, with the course, the Commonwealth would seek to introduce and admit as the next exhibits.
Okay.
Sal G.A. Stacker, thank you so much. I can't remember, says I'm zoned out at 10. Gina Wellington, thank you for the 3. And Juicing with Tracy, thank you for the 5. What were the grounds for Lally's objection to the round internal piece being shown yesterday? You mean Yanetti's objection? Let's drop it down to 50 cents or 10 cents for DUI Guys charity. This is for those who can't partake in this contest. Love you all. Look, B-Rad, it's up to the people. I don't control what the people do, but you made a suggestion. If they follow your lead, they follow your lead. I have no horse in this game, but I really appreciate you. I really do. Thank you for all your generosity. You've already given a lot, and we very much appreciate your support of the channel. So thank you. And Bree B says, even Lally seems bored. Of course, because it's boring as shit. Ah. Oh my God, what is that noise? That was annoying. Entry required. Thank you for the 50 secs. It's my favorite currency. Can you guess why? Lost Sallyport vid, delayed search, team told stop. That's all the pieces you're going to need to find. Raises quite a few concerns to me. Mr. Entry required. Yeah, I agree. The mic fell asleep. Is that what that noise was? Okay, Matrix. No problem. Yeah. They're just entering the exhibits. That's what's happening right now.
403 434. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I may publish some of these photographs for the jury.
Yes.
Thank you, Julissa Nunez.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2156. Where do you recognize what's now up on the screen that's been marked as Exhibit 403?
I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
That's one of the photos comparing item 3-1 and piece 1.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2125. And Ms. Blair, do you recognize what's up on the screen, which has now been marked as Exhibit 411?
I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
That's the contents of item 3-1.
And that's prior to
Love your show. Have to go fix
at what
stuff. No
stage
problem,
of
Plumber
this
Mike.
analysis or comparison
Thanks for stopping
process?
by. Gina Wellington, thank you for the 10.
So that's when I initially looked at item 3-1.
Crazy Old Fart says, now I really want to know why the objection to the round piece. Thought it was Lally, but Yannetti makes it more so. Yeah, because Lally is the one
Yes.
introducing the evidence through Ashley Valier as the witness. So Lally would not be able to object to his own witness. Does that make sense, Crazy Old Fart? It's the defense objecting to the prosecution for whatever they were trying to introduce. I'm not exactly sure what it was about. Maybe they're trying to hurry Lally up. I'll be honest. I have no idea. It made no sense to me.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph
It made no sense to me, the objection at all. I have no idea. This is really, really bland, basic stuff. So maybe the defense
And Ms. Blair, do you recognize
didn't like a
what's up on the
particular
screen, which
way
has
he
now been
phrased the
marked as
question
Exhibit
or
411?
the way that he's
I
trying
do.
to introduce a document or a piece of evidence.
So
I don't
on the
know.
left is item 3-1, piece A. And then on the right is piece 1.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 2151.
All right, we're almost done with her.
Recognize what's up on
This is the
screen,
final
which has
puzzle
now been
piece.
marked as Exhibit 403.
Thank you, Monique Shoemaker, Coach Mo,
What are we looking at?
for the 10. Thank you very much.
That is piece 1 on top of item 3-1 in a mechanical fit.
Is that the mechanical fit that you were talking about earlier?
Yes.
I do recall that happening as well, but that's not proper.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman, you can take it.
Using Rottenborn as an example is like using Rottenborn as an example is like trying to think of an analogy.
Ms. Vaillier, in reference to those items that you testified to earlier in item 3-1, the tail
That's a
light,
terrible
what have been
movie.
any conclusions regarding?
Oh, it's like using Waterworld as the
those
baseline
items
for
as
all
far as
future
physical
movies.
match?
There you
What,
go.
if any conclusions did you come to?
Using Rottenborn as an example for
That item
what
3-1 and
what is a proper objection
pieces
is
that
like
make
using
up
Waterworld
item-
as the baseline for
or the
all
pieces that make
future
up
movies.
piece 1
There you go.
were at one time together as a larger unit.
It's like comparing a piece of film, every piece of film to Waterworld to determine whether or not it's good or not.
May we approach Rob?
Does that make sense? Because Waterworld is a terrible movie. It's an atrocious movie. Even though Kevin Costner apparently is coming out with a two-part series movie. One is premiering in like June and the other in August. I think they're about done, folks. All right. How are we feeling, chat? The results of the poll, by the way, we have, let's see, almost 600 votes. How many ums will Ashley say before the cross ends? Current count is 794. And actually, as of right now, it's about almost 800, 798, 799, something like that, right? People are saying 13% of you think it will get to 1,200 by the end of cross, so only about 400 more. 21% of you, and actually 22% as well, 21% of you think it'll get to 1,400. 22% of you think it'll get to 1,800, so you kind of split there, about 1 out of 5 each. And then almost 50% of you, 45%, think it will go over 2,000. 2,000 ums. Huh. Really? Okay, well, let's see what happens. Let's end the poll.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's go. Finally, some
You
action.
have testified that when evidence comes into the crime lab, it's given crime lab evidence or item numbers, correct?
It's given a case number, and then each piece of evidence gets its own individual item number.
Okay, and if you just keep your voice up, because we want to make sure that the last jurors here can hear you.
There's the glare, by the way.
Consistent with that policy, the evidence
This is the glare.
that your lab received in this case was also given those item numbers, correct?
Correct.
So I'd like to ask you about one particular item number in this case, 7-18.18. Would you agree with me, and feel free to check your records, but would you agree with me that that was the item number given to, quote, debris from orange t-shirt and gray long sleeve shirt, end quote?
I can go. Okay.
And again, it's 7-18.18.
Debris from orange t-shirt 7-17 and gray long sleeve shirt 7-18-JO.
Terrific. Item 7-18.18 did not include the orange t-shirt itself, correct?
No.
Believe that you just testified that was given a different item number, which was 7-17?
I believe so.
And 7-18-18 also did not include the gray long sleeve shirt either, correct?
I didn't look at 7-17 or 7-18. I only received the debris from.
Okay, well, yeah, that's my point. So with regard to the orange t-shirt and the gray long sleeve shirt, those were given separate item numbers, and you examined what was the debris allegedly from those shirts, right? 7-18.18, correct?
Correct.
And that debris consisted of different categories, did it not?
There were different different things inside of it, yes.
Yes, different categories of things, correct?
I'm sure.
All right, so one category was dirt and debris, correct?
Yes.
You did not test the dirt and debris, correct?
Correct.
Another category was, or were, I should say, several apparent hairs.
Yes.
And you did not test those hairs, correct?
Correct.
And another category, I believe you've already testified to, consisted of several pieces of red apparent plastic and one piece of clear apparent plastic that measured 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. Is that accurate?
Okay, so there were several pieces of red apparent plastic. and then one piece of clear apparent plastic measuring approximately 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. Yes.
Okay. And I apologize for continually reminding you, but I'm just mindful that everybody needs to hear you. So to the best you can, if you can just keep your voice up.
By the way, speaking of
I'll try to do
hairs,
the same.
look at this article
So there
title.
were several pieces.
This is from
of
2015. This is why hair follicle testing is BS.
The pieces that you saw were not embedded in a shirt when you examined them, correct?
Correct.
And again, that's because you never took possession of any shirt in this case, correct?
Correct.
The pieces were loose and they were not embedded in anything, correct?
The pieces were, well, I examined the debris from the shirt. I don't know what the person who packaged it did to collect that.
Okay. And so it goes without saying that you never saw those pieces on either the orange shirt or the gray long sleeve shirt, correct?
I did not.
And you obviously had no control over how the evidence was handled before it came into your possession, correct?
We have a chain of custody in the laboratory, but I did not follow the evidence as it went through the chain.
Okay, and we'll talk about the chain of custody in a minute. Before this evidence came into your possession, you did not witness who seized it, correct?
Correct.
You did not witness who handled it, correct?
Correct.
Before it came into your possession, you don't know who had access to that evidence, correct?
So all of our evidence is stored in locked facilities.
Right, but I guess let me modify that question. Before it came to your lab, you don't know who had access to that evidence, correct?
Correct.
You also don't know, before it came to your lab, whether the shirts in question were at all times kept separate from the red or clear plastic pieces of, well, I said pieces of plastic that were in the possession of certain members of the state police, correct?
Correct.
The chain of custody at the crime lab started with noting the state trooper who actually delivered the evidence to your lab, along with the date, correct?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. The chain of custody at the crime lab starts with noting which state trooper delivered the evidence to your lab and the date that he or she delivered it, correct?
Or a crime scene responder, but the person who drops off the evidence to the laboratory, yes.
Okay. And in this case, which particular state trooper delivered the orange t-shirt and gray long sleeve shirt to your crime lab?
I don't know.
Well, which state trooper delivered the pieces of red and clear plastic pieces, I should say, that you just testified about?
The item 7-5 to 7-19?
Right. The several pieces of red apparent plastic and one piece of clear apparent plastic measuring 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. That's what I'm referring to.
Wait, sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes. You understand what I'm talking about, right? In terms of the several pieces of red apparent plastic and then the one piece of clear plastic that you have the measurements for?
You're talking about
That's true, Nikki.
the apparent plastic that I noted in the debris
German
of
shepherds do shed a lot.
7-18.18.
Correct. Which state trooper was it that delivered that?
Do you know?
Sorry, that's like that's an odd question.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if you want her to repeat it, Ms. Giannetti. Go ahead. You have to repeat that, please.
So evidence is
No,
submitted to.
what you just said that he missed.
Oh, I said that's kind of an odd question.
Oh, not for me.
Oh, not for
So-
me. Who delivered the evidence?
A record of what?
A record of
Yeah.
which state trooper delivered that debris to the lab.
So it wouldn't be delivered as like debris. It would be delivered as the individual piece of clothing, which then got assigned item 7-18, I believe. And then as someone analyzes it, each offshoot of that piece of evidence gets a 7-18 point something. So the debris collected from that shirt is 7-18.18.
Okay, all right. Listen, when those,
Don't let her go, Yannetti.
when those several, actually, let me strike that.
Damn, she infected him too.
Take your time, Mr. Yannetti.
Okay, so I want to confirm with you that when you were assigned to this case, you were aware that the date of the incident was January 29th of 2022, correct?
Yes,
All right. And it's your testimony that you don't know which state trooper delivered the shirts to the lab, correct?
I could look at my notes because I
Yes,
have a printed chain of custody.
Sure, if you would check your notes for that, please.
Okay. So. Okay, so
Did you order the
submission
code red?
7, which is everything that's item 7 dash in this case, was submitted by Trooper Michael Proctor.
Oh!
That was the answer to my
Yes! Yes!
How
There you
long
go,
after January
baby!
29th of 2022, according to your records, did Michael Proctor deliver that clothing to the crime lab?
It was delivered on March 14th, 2022.
Okay, so about 6 weeks or so after January 29th, is that accurate?
Sure.
Given that your lab received this evidence on March 14th of 2022, you can't testify to the chain of custody of the clothing or the pieces of plastic prior to March 14th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
That's a zinger.
And except for the tail light housing that was seized by Maureen Hartnett, except for that, your chain of custody at the lab for the 2 shirts plus the pieces of plastic in 7-18.18, that began on March 14th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
So between January 29th of 2022 and March 14th of 2022, you do not know what Michael Proctor did or didn't do with the orange t-shirt and gray long sleeve shirt, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I don't know.
Okay. Now, I'd like to discuss with you, if I might, Michael Proctor's submissions of the pieces of plastic that you've testified about. Your lab received from Michael Proctor several different evidence bags containing red, clear, and black pieces of plastic, correct?
Correct.
Some of those evidence bags contain relatively small pieces of plastic in them, correct?
Correct.
And some of those evidence bags contained larger pieces, right?
Correct.
The evidence bags that you received listed the dates of recovery of those pieces of plastic, did they not?
I believe so.
And the evidence bags that you received also listed the officer who recovered the plastic pieces, right?
I believe so.
And again, when you receive those evidence bags, whatever numbers are on them, your lab assigns them your item number, correct?
Correct.
So I'd like to ask you first about item number 7-8. Do you have a record of that?
Yes.
Now, that evidence bag, item number 7-8, contained multiple pieces of red, black, and clear pieces of plastic, correct?
Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Wow, she's having way too much fun. She seems like excited and uppity and happy.
Contained 14 pieces of red, black, colorless, and silver-colored apparent plastic. Yes.
Okay. And the date of collection was February 3rd of 2022?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Item 7-8,
Yes.
February 3rd, 2022.
Okay, and that was, if you have that in front of you, that was also collected by a trooper named DeChico, correct?
Oh, yes, correct.
If I may approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
So I show you a photograph. Can you identify what that is?
Yes.
What is that?
That is the handwritten label on item 7-8.
That would have been the evidence bag that your lab received and gave item number 7-8 to it, correct?
Correct.
And that appears to be an exact, photograph.
I don't think
of the
there's an
actual bag.
objection to it, so we
Yeah,
can
that's
just put
true.
it in.
Okay. May I offer that, Your Honor?
Sure.
Exhibit 435.
May I display that for the jury, Your Honor?
Okay.
And this is that is what I just showed you on the screen, correct?
Correct.
That's where it's indicated what the date of collection was and which trooper collected it, correct?
Correct.
All right, we can turn the lights on for a minute. And you would agree with me that that date, February 3rd of 2022, was only 5 days after the January 29th blizzard, correct?
I don't recall the dates of blizzards, but
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm sorry.
let's put it the date of the incident. You would have
Okay.
previously testified that was January 29th, correct?
correct.
All right. And February 3rd was 5 days after that, right?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to show Exhibit 279, please, which is 3 days.
Okay.
Now, Exhibit 279, which is displayed on the screen now, this is one of the photos taken of some of the contents of item 7-8, is it not?
That's the entirety of the contents of item 7-8.
Okay. You would agree with me that those were the pieces that were inside that evidence bag, labeled February 3rd as the date of recovery, 5 days after January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you see that there are some relatively small pieces that were allegedly found on February 3rd, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, Your Honor, I'm continually showing photographs. We can turn the lights on and off, whatever the court's preference
So
is.
you can just tell the court officer when you want the lights turned,
Okay, all right. So they get turned on for like a question or two, and then I turn them back off. But
however you want to do it.
that's fine. All right, so I'd like to contrast some of those pieces with some of the pieces that were found days and weeks later by Michael Proctor. And I'd like to start first with item 7-13. This is, I'd like to display Exhibit 343, which, Mr. Bates, is item 5. Okay. You were previously asked about Exhibit 343, which is now displayed on the screen.
Yes.
And that is the first evidence bag submitted by Trooper Proctor, is it not?
So in mine, sorry.
And you know what, let me rephrase that. He submitted evidence bags all at one time, correct?
Yes.
All on 3/14. So when I said the first evidence bag, I meant the earliest date of collection. I should have asked it that way. February 8th of 2022.
Sure, I don't know all of the dates that each item was collected on.
Well, this is important, woman. You
In
need to
any
know this
case,
stuff.
Those, according to the evidence bag that you received, the contents of that bag, which were, again, pieces of plastic, correct?
Pieces of apparent plastic.
Pieces of apparent plastic. Those were found
Apparent.
5 days after the pieces that you previously testified were found by DeChico, right, on February 3rd?
Correct.
All right. And February 8th was now 10 days after January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Can I have displayed Exhibit 346, which is 5A? Okay, looking at Exhibit 346, you will agree with me that this particular piece found on February 8th by Trooper Proctor was quite a bit larger than many of the plastic pieces that had been found by Trooper DeChico
Yes, very important.
5 days earlier on February 3rd, correct?
It's a large piece. How would you miss it?
I mean, there were a variety of sizes of pieces on the
That's
other
not the
one,
question. Answer the
is
question,
a-
ma'am.
What is that? Approximately
You're the puzzle master. Come on.
4-ish inches?
Right, but my point is, Exhibit 346, what's displayed, that plastic piece, is quite a bit bigger than the small pieces that were contained in DeChico's collection, correct?
Then some of those pieces, yes.
Okay. Now I'd like to move on to item 7-15, and if I could show Exhibit 352, please, which is item 8, Mr. Bates. Okay, item 7-15, the evidence bag that supports that lists the law enforcement officer who recovered the plastic pieces as Trooper Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
And the date of recovery of those pieces was February 11th of 2022.
A man who hasn't testified
Correct.
yet, by the way,
And again,
who's probably
harkening
watching this
back to
testimony as we speak.
DeChico's
Just a
evidence
hunch.
bag from February 3rd. This is
I
now
could be
8
wrong.
days later that these pieces are found, correct?
Correct.
And it's now almost 2 weeks that these pieces are found after January 29th, right? 13 days?
Correct.
All right.
Just
if I
a
could
guess.
show Exhibit 355, which is 8A, Mr. Bates. You would agree with me that this particular piece found by Trooper Proctor on February 11th is also quite a bit larger than those small pieces that were contained in Trooper DeChico's evidence collection, correct? On February 3rd?
Correct.
All right. I'd like to move on to item 7-16, which is number 9, Mr. Bates.
What exhibit number is this, Mr. Valier?
And this has not yet been introduced, so I'm about to introduce it. And in fact, why don't I do that first?
Okay.
If I can approach the witness.
Sure. And there's no objection to this, Mr. Lally?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'll just have the witness identify it and then offer it. Do you recognize what that photo depicts that I've handed to you?
I do.
What is it?
The handwritten label from item 7-16.
Okay. I would offer that, Your Honor.
Okay. Exhibit 436. Thank you.
Okay, so if I can display Exhibit 436, which is number 9.
Sure.
And again, you just identified that as the bag supporting item 7-16, correct?
Correct.
That also lists the law enforcement officer who recovered the plastic pieces as Trooper Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
And the date of recovery of those plastic pieces was February 18th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
So Trooper Proctor is now finding these pieces over 2 weeks after the smaller pieces were found by Trooper DeChico, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
February 18th is nearly 3 weeks after January 29th, is it not?
Correct.
All right. If I could show Exhibit 370, I'm sorry, 380, which is 9A, Mr. Bates. You would agree with me that this particular piece found by Trooper Proctor on February 18th is also quite a bit larger than those smaller plastic pieces found by Trooper DeChico on February 3rd, correct?
Correct.
This one appears to be about 11 centimeters long, approximately.
Sure.
All right. If I could show
Why does she find this funny?
Exhibit 376, which is 9B, Mr. Bates.
I don't get it. This woman's like
Okay.
behavior does not match the questions being asked and the
You
answers
would
being
agree with
given.
me that this particular piece found by Trooper Proctor on February 18th is also quite a bit larger than those smaller plastic pieces found by Trooper DeChico back on February 3rd, correct?
Correct.
In fact, that appears to be larger than the piece that you just identified in Exhibit 380, correct?
The one that was just on the screen?
Right.
Yes.
This one appears to be maybe about 18 centimeters long. Does that seem accurate?
I mean, it's longer than the ruler.
Okay,
But-
yeah. Finally, if we could show Exhibit 378, which is 9C, Mr. Bates. You would agree with me that this particular piece found by Trooper Proctor on February 18th is even larger than the last one that we just saw, correct?
In length, yes.
Okay. This appears to be about 19 centimeters long.
I mean, longer than the ruler that's up there,
Okay,
but I have the actual measurement in my notes.
sure. Well, and the precise measurement's not important. I'm just getting at the relative comparison. This one's certainly quite a bit larger than the smaller pieces found by Trooper DeChico back on February 3rd, correct?
Correct.
This larger piece of red plastic, like the previous two that you just identified, were all found on February 18th, about 3 weeks after January 29th, correct, according to your records?
Correct.
And regarding these last three evidence bags, labeled item number 713, 715, and 716 in February of 2022, from February 8th to the 18th, those were all plastic pieces collected by Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
And in addition to collecting those pieces,
We turn the lights on, Ms. Gianetti?
yes, I'm sorry,
Okay. And we can take that down, please?
yes. In addition to collecting those plastic pieces on all those different days, Michael Proctor was also the person to hand deliver those last three evidence bags, all on March 14th of 2022.
Hand
correct?
delivered.
Correct.
And
Oh,
you do
that's
not
very
know what
important.
Michael Proctor did or didn't do with those evidence bags of pieces of taillight prior to March 14th of 2022 when your lab received them, correct?
Objection.
I'm going to sustain it. We've already asked that.
Well, she
Now-
wants to hear him again.
The taillight of that Lexus sits in the housing of the Lexus, the taillight housing, such that part of the taillight faces the rear of the car and part of the taillight loops around and faces the passenger's side of the car, correct?
Sure.
Right? Because it's on the corner.
Well, just answer the question.
You'd agree with me that once you received the final pieces of taillight from Michael Proctor on March 14th, or once your lab received that, you were then able to piece together a majority of the taillight, correct?
So I wasn't assigned this case until later, once everything had already been submitted to the laboratory.
Right. So it was true that after Michael Proctor submitted these pieces of taillight on March 14th, it was after that that you were able to do the reconstruction that you testified about, correct?
Correct.
If I could have exhibit 432 displayed, which is image 2151, Mr. Bates. That is the reconstruction, the final reconstruction that you were able to do, correct? You would agree with me that there's one section of that taillight that was missing completely, correct?
Correct.
And that missing section is noticeably visible in your reconstruction, is it not?
Yes,
And do you still have that laser pointer there?
I do.
Would you please point to the section of taillight that's missing? Okay. Appears to be a hole on the upper left side of that exhibit.
Is that a question?
Yes, that's a
Yes,
freaking
it actually
question.
was. I
Okay.
should have said right or correct, but I didn't.
Yes.
Okay. And the.
I like how he's
you would agree
making
me, and
friends
if you
with
could
her
zoom
to
back out,
diffuse her.
You would agree with me that the portion of taillight that you did not have was strictly on the rear side of the taillight, if I can call it that.
I am not sure what orientation that goes on to a car.
Okay. But in any case, to this day, you do not know where the pieces that make up that hole are or what happened to them, correct?
I do not.
I may have a moment.
Okay.
No further questions. Thanks.
Oh,
Mr. Lally?
we're not even gonna reach 1200. See, I told you cross is gonna be fairly short. Let's see, 128.
Now, Ms. Vaillier, in reference to items 7-17 and 18, the orange T-shirt and the gray sweatshirt, fair to say you never actually physically saw those items, correct?
The clothing? No, I did not.
Now, the debris that was provided, are you familiar with how that process or who got those debris items from those clothing items?
I can look at my notes and tell you who submitted it or who transferred it to our unit.
If you could.
Your witness is ready, Mr. Lally.
I'm sorry. And from your review, who was that person?
Maureen Hartnett.
Now, as far as the 1/8 of an inch by a 1/16 of an inch red and clear apparent plastic pieces that you observed within that debris, that was mixed in with other debris as far as dirt, fibers, things of that nature. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch pieces that were contained within that debris, was that something that you observed visually or microscopically or both?
So visually, I take overall pictures of the debris, and then I'll look through the stereo zoom to see if there's any anything that looks different, and then I'll take a picture of that. So that is what I did. I looked through the stereo zoom.
Now, as far as the collection of evidence, fair to say you don't know who was a trooper, who was there when they were collected, how many troopers were there when it was collected, anything to do with that, fair to say?
Yes.
Good. That's
And
good.
as
I don't
far
know
as
why
the
Lally is
pieces
asking
that
these questions. These
supplied
are
to
helping the
report,
defense.
Fitting them mechanically together, all of those pieces then fit mechanically onto the taillight housing taken from the defendant's vehicle, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further.
Okay.
Nothing on that.
All right.
Oh,
Mr.
she's
Lally, you
so
are all
happy to
set.
go
Thank you very
home.
much.
Oh my God. Look at how much relief this kid has on her face.
All right. Joe, do you want to take your morning break now? Or wait? Yeah, people are saying yes, so we'll take the morning break.
All right. Morning break, folks.
All rise for the court, please.
Morning break. Ugh. I hope this boy finds his path in life. 860 total ums. Fly away, Tinkerbell. 860. So everybody was wrong. We didn't even get to 1200.
So I'll see counsel for a second at sidebar, please.
Court is still in session.
The unbalanced volume with the earbuds. What is unbalanced about my volume? My microphone is actually like pretty far away. My microphone is over here. I know you may not be able to see it, but this is like the distance of my entire arm length, and then some. All right, I'm done. No, my microphone should be fine. I am loud compared to the stream. Well, yes, because Lally is whispering the entire time. That's not my fault. I have the microphone balanced. It's the cord that is low. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So what you guys are doing is you're probably pumping up the volume all the way up when the chord is happening, and then I sound louder to you. So you just have to adjust your sound. It's not me, I promise. My sound is fine. I checked multiple times, but thank you. See, now I need to stop doing that. Hi, Vinny. Oh, she hears me talking. She wants to join the party. Come on, baby. Come on. There she goes. All right. For the 860 thank you so much. Thank you all very much. All right, I seriously need to stop. She is infectious. Those uhs and ums are very infectious, and I need to chill because I'm not even doing it intentionally. At first, it was a joke, and now it's like annoying. So I'll practice removing them from my vernacular. Thank you to everyone, by the way, who has donated and continues to donate to a great cause. For those of you unfamiliar with what Over the Edge does, myself and my team, at least myself, maybe Logan and Tyler. Tyler is my associate, and Logan is my director of business development. The three men, unless the women want to partake as well. I'm not trying to be sexist or nothing, but this is more of a guy thing, I think. I mean, there's a few women who do this, like hardcore go-getters and fighters, etc. We're going to rappel down the Louisville Slugger Museum. The Louisville Slugger Museum, that's the one with a giant bat. That's this one.
It's almost time to go over the edge for camp quality and critical mass.
We'll see you September 7th.
Knock it out of the park and go over the edge.
That's the bat right there. That's going to be me. And hopefully Tyler and maybe Logan. We just raised $1,115. Thanks to your help, folks. This is all you guys. This is all you. Look at that. 56% of our $2,000 goal. If we reach 2,000, all three of us can rappel down off the building because we need 1,000 for me as a fearless leader, and we need 500 for Logan, 500 for maybe Tyler, maybe Brandon. It all depends on who of my team will want to partake. So, Critically Loved, for those of you who don't know, Critically Loved was founded by their executive director, Tia Lynn. Oh, by the way, and the link is in the description below for those of you wondering. Sorry, court's back.
All right.
You are muted.
Okay, here we go. Morning break. All right. So back to where I was. The story Critically Loved was founded by our executive director, their executive director, Tia Lynn, whose 23-year-old daughter was diagnosed with life-threatening internal bleeding when she was 5. It took her years to learn how to manage her daughter's healthcare, not wanting other parents to struggle like she did. In 2015, Tia Lynn started Critically Loved to help families navigate a difficult road. Critically Loved supports families, first of all, practically with issues relating to school, insurance, and medical bills. Secondly, emotionally, by meeting one-on-one with parents and professionals, with professional counseling, and by providing events where families can connect with one another. And then spiritually, in group settings, in churches, around the community, and via Zoom. Critically Loved also focuses on child abuse prevention and inclusion education, where typical children learn to appreciate differences in their peers with unique abilities and are encouraged to overcome their own challenges. In 2023 alone, that is last year, Critically Loved served 1,559 families and provided inclusion education to 2,300 students. Since most families they serve are already overwhelmed with time off work to care for their child and medical bills, they never charge for their services. Therefore, they rely 100% on donations and fundraisers to exist. So please consider supporting this event, Over the Edge, to make an impact in the lives of families with critically and chronically ill children in our community. So like I said, the link is in the description below. Thank you to everyone who donated. There was somebody who just donated a huge chunk. They wanted to donate anonymously, so they just wrote, "Appreciate all you do." Let me read some of the love that you guys. So first of all, we just hit 33 minutes ago. We just hit $1,000, folks. $1,000 have been raised for critically ill children, critically and chronically ill children. The event is on September 7th. It's 3 months away. And look at that. We're already over 1,000. We're more than halfway towards our goal. So thank you to everyone who contributed. This is incredible. This is awesome. Anonymous contributed, said, "Appreciate all that you do." We got For the Kids. Anonymous said, "This is for the kids." Suzanne Parrish said, "You are always doing things for others. Thank you so much." Anonymous said, "Anything for the kids." Jim Darris said, "Buckle up, it's the law, don't look down, Larry." I've repelled before, so I'm no stranger to it. And that's it so far. Now, I think I haven't liked these donations yet because this is all fresh. So anyway, we are 56% to our $2,000 goal. We're at $1,115. So again, thank you all so much. And I really appreciate all of your contributions. We are currently on morning break. If you're just joining us, my only fan is in session. Who is this Mark guy you guys keep talking about? Was his message silenced or something? Oh, I love my trolls. Let's read some trolls. "So we have to turn up our volume to hear Quartz. Why don't you just turn down your volume down to match that level? Unless you don't care about your subscribers." How about I'll let my subscribers tell the story of how much I don't care about them. It's crying about turning down. I know, I saw that. I am not loud at all. The cord is just quiet, and there's only so much I can do to adjust. So I can do everything in my power to match, but we're doing great. Anyway, the next witness is probably going to be another crime lab person, because so far Lally has done 2 of those back to back. Let's see, Ashley Valier, and before her it was the Harnett, Ms. Harnett. Remember? See, chat knows that I hate them. Mark, I am not a troll. Don't call me a troll. I'm not a troll. You don't live under a bridge? I was certain, Mark. I thought I looked you up, and I was like, address under the bridge, under the bridge. Anyway, Maureen Harnett and Ashley Valier. So now we have Christina Hanley and Andre Porto. Andre Porto, probably. Cry me a river. No, we made one rule on this channel. Larry does not sing. Larry has no voice. Larry is not permitted to use his singing voice. There are 3 more Crime Lab people on the list. I think Sophie. Oh, that's right. Sophie Horizon. I thought it was only 2. So Andre Porto, Ashley Valier, Maureen Hartnett, Christina Hanley, and Sophie Horizon. So Maureen Hartnett has already testified. Ashley Valier has testified. We're left with Andre Porto, Christina Hanley, and Sophie Horizon. So that's probably going to be one of those 3. Yes, I do have a new hairstyle. Thank you so much. All right, Mark, you're going in timeout, buddy. You need to chill. See, red hot. You need to chill, Peppers. Crime Lab audio is much better. We love you, Mark, but you need to chill, bro. Chill. I love that you hate me, Larry. So tell me how much you hate me. I can't do it with a straight face. I'm sorry. Does it normally take so long to introduce evidence? Look, that's a great question. To be completely honest, Boda Bob, you have a fantastic question. So there is a way to do what Lally is doing, but faster. And the way to do that is to cut corners. Now, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I think for Lally's purposes, unfortunately for him, he had to go through most of it. But I think there's still a better way to do what he did and much more entertaining rather than being so bland and boring. But sometimes introduction of evidence can be very, very droning and boring. It's just a fact. You can't accelerate the introduction of evidence. See, the fun part for the defense is you actually get to hammer the witness on very specific parts of what has just been introduced. So when the prosecution has to go A, B, C, D, all the way to like Z, the defense can come in and be like, so let's talk about E, and then let's talk about G, and then we'll skip all the way down to P and Q and then Z, and you're done, right? Because you hit home 5 points. You are very, very specific on the questions that you're asking. You're very, very direct. You're dissecting the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 70 that have been introduced because you don't care about the other 65 as the defense attorney. And so that's why it's a lot swifter. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more interesting. And especially we know that the real case belongs to the defense here in this case. The prosecution is kind of acting like the defense attorney because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's also new, so that's not helping at all. So I hope that answers that question. Berserker says, don't call her Tinkerbell. She looks more like a Peter Pan. Oh my God, you guys. Wrestler's mom says, hopefully her transition as much as her pronouns. Oh, man. Oh, you've done her dirty, Wrestler's mom. You've done her so dirty. Hopefully her transition as much as her pronouns have. Remove the ma'am/sir. You guys are brutal. Brutal. I have propelled off the tower at the 101st Airborne. Really? Charmaine Fugate. That's awesome. I've only rappelled off of rock face at the Red River Gorge. I've never rappelled off a building. If Yannetti has the missing piece found at John O'Keefe's house, I will soil my drawers. It's possible. We don't know yet. We'll find out when the defense begins their case in 2027. Lally is going to take 3 years with... how many witnesses... By the way, how many witnesses did we have yesterday? And I know Ashley Valier was also yesterday. So we were at 33 to go, right? Or something like that. How many witnesses testified yesterday, chat? Larry, how will the Commonwealth explain the 507 video that shows the taillight only missing a small piece, but still lit up red? His evidence had the LEDs ripped out. Yeah, I don't know. It's not our job. It's not the defense's job. Oh, so not yesterday. I'm sorry, not yesterday. When I said yesterday, I meant Monday. I apologize. When I said yesterday, I meant Monday. How many witnesses do we have on Monday? Yeah, Red River Gorge is so much fun. Actually, we went, Chandler and I went to the Red River Gorge on Saturday, and we did, what did we do? It's called kayaking in a cave. We kayaked in a cave. It was 3, right? It was 3. So if it was 3, witness number 53, 53, 54, 53, 54, 53, 54, 55. So now this is going to be witness number 56. By the way, I just realized I misspelled her name. I'm so sorry, Mr. Vaillier or Ms. Vaillier. We kayaked in this abandoned mine that was flooded. You guys want to see some photos? Not our photos, because our photos were garbage. But this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. You get in this little kayak. And so, do you want me to spoil it for you? Because I'll tell you about it. I'll spoil it for you because unless you don't want me to, if you actually want to go check it out for yourselves. It's really super cool. Do you want me to spoil it for you, Chad? I'll tell you the story. Because you get to learn the story as you do the kayak. Brittany says, no, don't spoil it. Shelly says, yes, spoil it. Brittany says, I want to go and plan to go very soon, so please don't spoil it. All right, you know what? We actually did go to Miguel's, by the way. We did go to Miguel's, and we didn't have pizza because the line was super long, or their rice bowls. I love their rice bowls. Remember, Chandler made a rice bowl for me on Monday. She might make another one today. She heard me. She's making it. Okay, Brittany, just because you said this, I won't spoil it. The only thing I will say is I already did. This is an abandoned mine. But how did it get water in it? What's in the water? How did this happen? What happened to the company that was mining? I won't say any of that stuff. It's very touristy. But it's mostly people from Kentucky, but not exclusively. There were a couple people in our group from Cincinnati. Where were people from, babe? Do you remember?
Where were people from?
Yeah, when we went to the kayaking in the cave.
Let's see. I think Indiana, Ohio.
Indiana, Ohio.
Or the Carolinas.
And oh yeah, the Carolinas. Somebody was from Carolina. Brittany, hit us one more time. My boy Lollipop says, when will autopsy come into play? Probably during the medical examiner's testimony. The medical examiner is Dr. Irini Scordibello and Dr. Renee Stonebridge, Office of the Chief Medical Examiners. Their witnesses number 26 and 27 on the witness list. and they have not testified yet. Dr. Renee Stonebridge and Dr. Irini Scordi-Bello. Lally is saving them for last because he knows if he puts them on first, the jurors will stop listening to him. He knows this because the minute they testify, the defense can cross-examine and show no broken bones, again, no fractures, no injuries consistent with a vehicle striking the body. And Lally knows if he does that, then they're going to stop listening to him and they're going to hate him even more. They hate him. The jurors hate him already for all the time that he has been wasting, bringing on witnesses that bring absolutely nothing to the case. But they would hate him even more if the first two witnesses were the medical examiners. Then they'd be like, yeah, the injuries are not consistent with a car accident. And then he has to put on 79 more witnesses and make the jury cry. And everyone's asking, where's Proctor? Exactly. Where's Proctor in all this? Proctor should have been witness number 1, 2, at most 3, not somewhere between 60 and 80, which is what it turns out it's going to be 100% now. It's absolutely baffling. It is absolutely staggering. But yeah, here's some more photos of the kayaking. Let's see if I can show you. So yeah, this was us. You get like a little helmet. You get like a little helmet and with a headlamp, a life jacket. The water is freezing. The water is 40. It's 80 degrees outside, 85, 90. Inside the cave, it is 40 degrees in the water, 50 degrees out of the water. Think about it. It is really, really cold. That's why everybody's wearing long sleeves and long pants, even though it's summertime. And we were wearing the same gear. We were wearing the same gear. It is very, very cold inside the cave. But this is very fun. If you're ever in the area, I highly encourage it. I highly recommend it. It's good stuff. Really fun stuff. The DUI guy, as far as I know, you're the only law tuber who has physically seen the jurors. Tell us about them. I made a whole stream about it. Let's see. I made a whole stream about the jurors. If you want, here's the link. View on YouTube. Here's the link. It's on my lives. The video is from 2 weeks ago, May 18th. It's got 50,000 views almost. May 18th, 2024. It's under my lives section. And I just posted the link. There it is. That's the link to my juror reactions. You're welcome. Paul Croak says, could the belt have been missing at the crime scenes and ambulance hospital and put back later because evidence was in Proctor's car for 6 weeks? Yes. Yes. Maybe Brian Albert was like, hey, listen, bro, we forgot the belt. Can you add that into evidence? And he's like, yeah, sure, bro. I got you. Hey, love you. More Nothing Burgers by Lally. I'm going to, by the way, for those of you who may have trouble, just in case, I'm going to go ahead and add the juror reaction video in the description below for those of you who want the link a lot more accessible. There you go. Now you have it. It's in the description below. Oh, I forgot to add, when was morning break? Morning break started about 20 minutes ago, 1:35. 1:35. Morning break. There we go. Morning break. And of course, as always, we have an afternoon session already set and ready to go, ready to rock. Oh, court's back.
You are unmuted.
Today is a full day. Yes.
Thank you. May be seated. Court's back.
All right, Mr. Lally, your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor, the Commonwealth call Ms. Christina Hanley to the stand.
Christina Hanley, Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab. Crime Lab number 3. Let's go. 157.
Step right up there. Just watch your step for me. You solemnly swear the evidence given to the court and jury the case down here to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. Take the stairs. On the lowest setting. I really need you to keep your voice up.
Okay.
All right. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Sure. It's Christina Hanley. Hanley is spelled Hanley.
And what do you do for work, ma'am?
I am a forensic scientist at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory.
And how long have you been at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory?
I have been there for approximately 16 years.
Now, ma'am, if I could ask you just a little bit about your educational background, starting with where did you go and what, if any, degree did you receive with regard to your undergraduate?
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry with a concentration in Forensics from Merrimack College.
And then after receiving those degrees from Merrimack, where did you go from?
I began working at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab in 2008.
And from your work there in 2008, what did you do next?
So I began as a chemist 1 in the drug identification unit. Once I completed my training in there, I was promoted to a chemist 2. In 2009, I transferred into the trace unit as a chemist 2, which is the equivalent of a forensic scientist 2 currently. And in 2017, I was promoted to a forensic scientist 3 in the trace arson and explosives unit.
And if you could describe for the jury sort of the difference between a forensic scientist or a chemist 1, forensic scientist 2, forensic scientist 3 within your lab.
Sure. So forensic scientist 2 is considered like a bench analyst working on casework.
Hey, Ms. Hanley, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up really loud, okay?
A forensic scientist 3 is a unit supervisor, and I also perform casework.
And how long is it you've been a forensic scientist 3 or a supervisor within the trace unit?
I have been a supervisor since 2017 for approximately 7 years.
Keep your voice up, please, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Hanley, with reference to starting in general terms with the trace unit, if you could describe to the jury what is the trace unit and what type of analyses are done within that unit.
Sure. So the type of examination that we do in the trace arson and explosives unit, I examine and compare trace evidence such as paint, fibers, hair, glass, tape, miscellaneous items, and I also do physical match examinations as well as serial number restorations on firearms.
What type of training did you receive at the lab?
So I received in-house training as well as some external training
The in-house training consisted of required readings, exercises, observing other analysts working on casework in the lab. I was required to successfully complete a written exam, a competency test, and a mock trial.
And if you could describe to the juries sort of what your duties and responsibilities
She's a mock trial
are
expert.
at the lab.
Fascinating.
Sure. So I'm responsible for the daily operations in the unit, training other new analysts in the unit. I perform technical and administrative reviews of case files. I also work on casework, like I had mentioned, examining trace evidence such as paint, fibers, hairs, glass, tape, miscellaneous items, and physical match examinations and serial number restorations on firearms.
Now, is your lab, the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, is that accredited somehow?
Yes, it is.
And can you describe to the jury what that accreditation means, essentially?
Sure. So an accreditation, it's a formal recognition that the lab is in compliance with certain accreditation requirements.
And is the lab that you work for, is that currently up to code or up to speed with regard to accreditation?
Yes.
Now, as far as you mentioned that you work as a supervisor and review other people's casework, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, when it comes to this specific area, as far as trace analysis or comparison of items, who, if anyone, reviews your work?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of that.
When it comes to this type of analysis, as far as comparison of items, who is it that reviews your work?
So depending on the type of case, currently we do have an external technical reviewer who is authorized to perform that technical review.
And is that external review, is that essentially as a result of there is no one else at the lab that can do what you do?
With some of the disciplines that I perform casework in, I am the only one. So when I do those types of cases, we utilize an external technical reviewer.
Now, are you familiar with a proficiency test?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what that is and how that plays into either your work at the lab or the accreditation process that the lab goes through?
Sure. So a proficiency test monitors an analyst's performance. It's a quality assurance process, and I am required to complete at least one external PT annually. Due to the multiple.
Oh my God, is this going to be another
disciplines
attack
in
of the
trace,
ums?
I do typically perform or complete more than one proficiency test per year.
Please make it stop.
And are the proficiency tests that you take, are they required by the accrediting body, ANAP?
Yes.
And have you passed each of those proficiency tests that you've undertaken over the years?
I have successfully completed my proficiency tests.
Now, turning your attention to this case, at some point, did you become involved in an analysis in reference to a lab case number 22-02184?
Yes.
And the name of the suspect on that is Karen Reed, is that correct?
Correct.
And if you could describe to the jury, again, just in a general sense, in any sort of case, when items come into your possession at the lab.
And she's another mouth breather into the microphone. Or nose breather, whatever it is.
Sure. So evidence is submitted to the lab through the evidence unit. It's assigned a unique lab number and barcode. The information for the case is input into our LIMS system which stands for Laboratory Information Management System. And a chain of custody of the items is tracked in that LIMS system. When I take an item into my custody, I then document it with photos and notes. And then I proceed with sampling and microscopic examination and instrumental analysis.
Now, specifically when it comes to you mentioned you have a variety of sort of subdisciplines or different types of testing or casework that you do. Is that correct?
Yes.
Specifically as it applies to an analysis or an examination of items of glass, what, if any, experience or what types of cases would it be that you've looked at those types of items in the past?
So I have examined glass numerous times from a variety of different types of cases. For example, a hit and run or a B&E.
And as far as the types of, are there different types of glass that you've performed examinations on in the past as well?
Yes, I mean, there could be a variety of type of glass that I could come across for examination.
And with respect to examination of glass, what are some of the steps, or what is the process, or what, if any, instrumentality are you using to conduct your examination?
Sure. So when I examine an item that is glass, I document it with photos and notes, making general observations of appearance, color. I examine a portion microscopically and observe certain optical properties. And then I will also check to see if it fluoresces under UV light. And I also will sample it for analytical analysis using a GRIM, which stands for Glass Refractive Index Measurement.
If you could explain to the jury the GRIM device.
The Grim Reaper?
Sure. So it measures the refractive index. Your refractive index. Your sample is placed into an oil of a known refractive index, and that then gets placed onto a hot stage of the microscope of the GRIM instrument. And it goes through a process of cooling and heating, and it looks for the match point temperature. And from that match point temperature, we're able to determine the refractive index of the glass sample.
Now, as far as that determination of the refractive index of a glass sample, how is that? Is that something that you're viewing, and how are you viewing it? What are you viewing it on?
It's viewed through the software that the GRIM instrument uses.
And how does that appear as far as visually when you're looking at it?
So it essentially, you watch the cooling and heating process of this sample, like I had mentioned, and it determines the match point temperatures, and it takes an average, and it then calculates the refractive index for the sample.
Now, is there another device that you utilize in the lab called an FTIR?
Yes.
And can you explain, first of all, what that term stands for?
Sure. It stands for Fourier Transform Infrared Spectrometer. Sorry.
Wow, you don't know your own
What is
job,
that device
lady?
and
Come
how is that
on.
used in your examination?
So it's an analytical technique that's used for certain types of analysis. Basically, your sample is exposed to infrared light and it reacts in a certain way. And what's produced is what we call a spectrum or a graph. And it's just a series of peaks and valleys that are representative of the sample.
Now, turning your attention back to this case, 22-02184, starting with, were there some glass pieces that you examined in reference to that case?
Yes.
And what were the item numbers associated with the glass pieces that you examined in this case?
Sure. So the item numbers it was item 3-2, 3-3, 7-12, and 7-14.
And if you recall, as far as starting with item 3-2, was there any other sort of label associated with that beyond just item 3-2?
3-2 was a clear, apparent drinking glass.
And item 3-3?
Item 3-3, I believe, was the clear, apparent glass pieces recovered from the bumper of the vehicle.
And then item 7-12?
That was some clear, apparent glass that was recovered. It was recovered from the ground.
In the ground at 34 Fairview Road, is that correct?
Yes.
And lastly, item 7-14?
7-14 was also a clear, apparent piece of glass that was recovered from the road.
Now, with reference to item 3-2, the drinking glass, what, if any, observations did you make or did you note during the course of your examination of that?
Sure. So it appeared to have broken, irregular edges. And that was all I had noted at that point.
Did you take measurements as far as height and width?
I did.
Do you recall what those were?
I would need to refer to my notes for that.
Yes, you can use your notes.
So the diameter of the bottom of the drinking glass was 2 3/4 inches. Approximately 2 3/4 inches, and it measured approximately 2.5 inches in height.
In addition to the measurements that you took, what, if anything else, did you note as far as the interior and the exterior of that glass cup?
That there was some dirt debris material noted on the exterior and interior of that item.
Now, as far as item 3-3, the apparent glass on the rear bumper of the vehicle, what, if any, observations or measurements did you take in reference to that, or how many pieces were there?
Sure. So it consisted of 5 clear pieces of apparent glass, with broken irregular edges. The largest piece measured approximately 7/8 of an inch by 5/16 of an inch, and the smallest piece measured approximately 3/16 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch.
Now, within those 5 pieces in items 3-3, were they then given each of those pieces respectively an additional label or marker?
Yes.
And was that an alphabetical one, essentially A through E?
Yes, I labeled them A through E.
Now, with regard to piece E from item 3-3, what, if anything, in addition, did you do with regard to that piece?
So what I labeled as piece E, I also used the Grimm instrument for analytical instrumentation.
Now, with regard to item 7-12, or the 14 pieces of glass and clear plastic, what, if anything, did you observe in your initial observations or initial examination of those pieces individually?
So in item 7-12, it consisted of 5 pieces of clear apparent plastic and 9 pieces of clear apparent glass, all with broken irregular edges.
Now, specific to the 9 pieces of broken glass, what, if any, examination did you do of them initially?
So the 9 pieces of apparent glass were examined microscopically.
Now, lastly, with regard to item 7-14, the pieces of glass recovered from 34 Fairview Road, what, if anything, did you note during your initial examination of them and observations did you make in regard to that?
Sure. So item 7-14 consisted of 1 clear piece of apparent glass with broken irregular edges.
Now, as far as the microscopic appearance, so when you're putting something under the microscope and you're looking at what kind of things are you looking for? What kind of characteristics are you looking for when you're examining something microscopically?
So I look at several things. So initially, I look at the color, whether there are like flat, smooth surfaces to the glass, whether it's flat or curvature. And then I may sample some more to examine under a polarized light microscope and check to see if there are certain optical properties under a polarized light microscope that are characteristic of glass.
And in addition to looking at each of these items individually, then what, if any, comparison did you do between those various items 3-2, 3-3, 7-12, and 7-14?
So between those items, I first examined them to see if there was a physical match between item 3-2 and item 7-12 and 7-14. And then I also did a comparison of 3-2 to item 3-3. And then I also compared item 3-3 to 7-14 for possible physical match. And in addition, I also sampled some pieces for use for examination on the GRIM instrument.
Let me ask you, just as far as classification goes, are you familiar with the terms as far as a class characteristic versus an individual characteristic?
Yes.
Can you explain what those terms mean and how they relate to each other within your specific forensic field?
Sure. So a class characteristic is when a material can be associated with a group of items that share characteristics. Like for example, fibers or tape. An individual characteristic is when a material can be associated with a single source, for example, a physical match.
Now, with reference to your analysis between items 3-2 and 7-12, what, if any, conclusions were you able to draw from your examination or comparison of those items?
Sure. So, right, there are several items that I'll just have to refer to my conclusion, if that's okay, on my report.
Yes, you can go ahead and look at your notes.
Yes. So item 3-2 was found to have a physical match with 6 of the pieces of clear apparent glass from 7-12. But there was no physical match with the 3 other pieces from 7-12.
Based on that physical match that you determined, what, if any, conclusions can you come to with regard to those items that were physical?
Sure. So item 3-2 and the 6 pieces from 7-12 were at one time together as one unit. So then item 3-2 and all 9 pieces from item 7-12 were examined microscopically. However, there was no physical match found with the piece of clear glass from 7-14. Item 3-2 and all 9 pieces of clear apparent glass from 7-12 were examined microscopically, but no physical match was found with 2 of the pieces from the clear apparent glass from item 3-3.
Now, with reference to item 3-3 and item 7-14, what, if any, comparison examination were you able to do in reference to that?
Sure. So item 3 so 2 of the clear glass pieces from 3-3 were examined microscopically. No physical match was found with the piece of clear glass from item 7-14. One of the pieces that I had labeled as piece E from item 3-3 was found to be consistent in physical and instrumental properties with examined portions of the piece of clear glass from item 7-14. So accordingly, the examined portion of the piece of clear glass that I labeled as E from item 3-3 could have originated from the examined portion of the piece of clear glass from item 7-14 or from another source with the same characteristics.
Now, Ms. Hanley, you used a term in there as far as instrumental properties. Can you explain to the jury what that term means and how it relates to your examination in this case?
So the instrumental properties, that's referring to the Grimm analysis that I did. So in comparing the refractive index from 3-3 versus 7-14.
So the clear apparent glass from item 3-2 that was recovered from the scene was a physical match for 6 pieces from 7-12, which were additional glass pieces found from the scene, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Sure. So the the drinking glass from item 3-2 was a physical match for 6 of the pieces from item 7-12, which was glass recovered from the scene, correct?
Correct.
And then the 2 of the pieces from item 3-3, or one of the pieces, excuse me, piece E from 3-3, which was from the bumper of the defendant's vehicle, was consistent with a piece of clear glass from 7-14, which was found on the ground, correct?
Correct.
Now, Ms. Hanley, in addition to that trace analysis that you performed with regard to the glass pieces, what, if any, other, excuse me, additional examination did you do with regard to items of debris?
Sure. So I also examined item 3-1 and 7-18.18.
Now, starting with item 7-18.18, what, if any, other description did you have as far as what that item was or where it came from?
So 7-18.18 it was scrapings, trace material recovered from the victim's clothing.
And that would be both an orange T-shirt and a gray long sleeve shirt, is that correct?
Correct.
And those particular items, as far as the debris, that was provided to your unit within the lab by whom?
I believe it was Maureen that did the scraping of the clothing and had those scrapings transferred to our unit for further
So
examination.
O'Keefe had his face level
That
with
would
the
be,
blinker,
Morgan
no
Hartnett,
blood
is
or
that
tissue on the lens
Yes.
and killed him. Exactly, right?
And as far
Makes
as,
no sense
what
in that.
any
That's
items,
the
the other item was 3-1, is that correct?
Correct.
That was the actual sort of taillight housing from the vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And according to your notes, who, if anyone, provided that piece of evidence to your unit or to your lab for that comparison purpose?
Michael Proctor.
I would have to double check who. I believe it was Maureen, but I'm not. I would have to double check in my.
Go ahead, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Maureen Proctor, also known as Michael
Oh,
Proctor.
okay. I'm sorry. It was Trooper Christopher Moore that had that item delivered to the lab.
Now, with reference to item 3-1, the passenger side taillight from the vehicle, what, if any, observations or things did you note in regard to your sort of initial examination of the taillight?
So I did notice that there were portions of the taillight, portions that were clear and red that had broken irregular edges. It appeared to be that there was damage to it.
Now, with reference to your examination just of the taillight now, what, if any, instruments did you utilize in the course of your examination of the taillight?
Sure. So during my examination, a polarized light microscope, a comparison microscope, as well as a FTIR with a microscope attachment and a microspectrophotometer, also known as a microspec.
Now, the Graham and the FTIR, I believe you've already discussed in your testimony. As far as the microspec is concerned, can you explain to the jury sort of what that instrument is and how it's used and how you used it in this examination specifically?
Sure. So a microspec is used to examine items that have color.
IIRC.
So essentially,
It's 24 miles per
your
hour. Somehow
sample is
through a
exposed to
200-pound
visible
man,
light,
12 feet.
reacts in a certain way. Some of the light gets absorbed, some of it gets transmitted.
I forgot, what is IIRC?
And we get a spectrum, and it's representative of
Remind me, Chad.
the dye or pigment in the sample.
Now, with reference to item 7-18.18, that being the debris from the victim's clothing, what, if any, observations or measurements did you take in reference to that?
If I recall correctly. Thank you.
Sure. So I noted that there was some clear plastic material, as well as some red plastic material. And I I would have to refer to my report for exact measurements of those items.
You can go ahead and do that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So the piece of clear plastic measured approximately 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. And the largest piece of one of the red plastic pieces measured approximately 1/16 of an inch by less than 1/16 of an inch. And the smallest piece from that measured approximately less than 1/16 of an inch by less than 1/16 of an inch.
As far as measurements go, as far as your examination, as far as the lab is concerned, is 1/16 of an inch, sort of the bottom.
Lally, your PP is 1/16 of an inch. What are you smoking?
Yes.
So if something is less than that, it's just sort of noted as less than 1/16 of an inch. Is that correct?
Yes.
And with regard to that debris, the clear and red plastic from the debris, what, if any, examination or what, if any, instruments did you use to conduct your examination just of those pieces?
So I examined a portion of the clear plastic as well as one of the pieces of the red plastic. I examined them microscopically, and I analyzed portions instrumentally using an FTIR and a microspec.
And based on those examinations, starting with the clear plastic material that you observed, what, if any, conclusions did you come to with reference to comparison of the clear plastic material to the taillight housing?
So the clear plastic from item 7-18.18 was found to be consistent in color and instrumental properties with the examined portion of the clear plastic from the taillight. So accordingly, the clear plastic from 7-18.18 could have originated from the clear plastic from item 3-1 taillight or from another source with the same characteristics.
Now, similarly, with from your examination of the red pieces of plastic in the taillight versus the red pieces of plastic contained within the debris, what, if any, conclusion were you come from your examination of comparison of those items?
Sure. So the examined portions of the red plastic from item 7-18.18 was found to be consistent in color, microscopic appearance, instrumental properties with the examined portions of the red plastic from the taillight, item 3-1. So accordingly, the red plastic from 7-18.18 could have originated from the red plastic from item 3-1, the taillight, or from another source with the same characteristics.
Thank you. May I have one moment, Charlie?
Yes.
No way. Is he done?
Thank you very much, ma'am. I have no further questions.
Right.
Oh, snap.
Actually, Mr. Jackson, before you begin, why don't I see you both at sidebar votes?
All right, sidebar. Let's go sidebar. Let's go. Let's go sidebar. Let's go. The jurors must be taking a nap, Mike Richards. Oh, most definitely. Not even a question. Not even a question, buddy. J Water Roadless Wolf. Oh, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel, brother. Just doing some research on Ashley Valier, formerly Ashley Loeffler. She's been underpaid in the profession for over a decade. The forensic department has had repeated issues since 2003. Why am I not surprised? Thank you for the intel, man. This is really good stuff.
Your main approach of the magistrate is just a moment to get VP for identification.
Which one?
Victor. May I inquire? Yes. Thank you.
All right, here we go.
Well, almost afternoon, Miss Hanley.
Hey, good morning. Yeah.
I'd like to show you a document just to begin our conversation this morning, if I may. May I approach?
Yes.
This has been previously identified as VV, as in Victor. And I'd like to ask you, first of all, to take a look at that and tell me if you generally recognize what that document is.
Turboy said Bukhenik's in the building. Could he be next? It's possible.
Yes.
Very possible.
It appears to be a chain of custody of several items.
Okay, and is that a chain of custody document reflective of the crime lab's case number in this?
By the way, I have
case?
my Johnny Depp mug today.
Sort of a clumsy question. Do you understand what my question is?
It is the chain of custody for 22-02184.
And is that the case number that the Massachusetts State Crime Lab, Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab is still assigned to this case that you're testifying about today?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've seen reports like this before, correct?
Yes.
They're routinely used in the crime lab to track evidence and maintain chain of custody, at least at the crime lab. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the information contained in the report is entered at or near the time of the event that's memorialized?
Yes.
Okay. And it's relied on generally by the crime lab as a business record, correct? As a record of the events memorialized?
Yes, it's a record of the chain of custody of items within the lab.
Okay, and my question is it relied on by the lab for truth and accuracy, as best you can maintain it, to track items of evidence within the lab?
You guys are
Yes,
sick.
it does track items.
I love it.
And the information contained in the report is presumed by you and other supervisors at the lab to be accurate. Is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move for the admission of VV as an exhibit.
Objection.
See that, and we'll see you at the side.
See you at the sidebar. We'll see you at the sidebar. Why is there an objection, Lally? Do you not like what's coming in? It's poor with the Wowie not like what is the defense putting into evidence. Oh, somebody give Wowie a Wowie pop. Let's go, AJ. That's right, Thumper 2112. Let's go, AJ. Let's go. Whoop, whoop. Let's go, girls. Da, 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 na, na, na. Anybody else have Shania Twain playing in their head, or is it just me?
Unmuted.
And I'm sorry, Your Honor, my request at sidebar is reserved.
Yes,
Thank you. May I inquire?
yes.
Ms. Hanley, I want to draw your attention specifically to the glass pieces that Mr. Lally asked you about. Would you agree that there's a lot of numbers that were discussed, correct?
A lot of numbers.
A lot of,
I compared 3-2 to 7-12, and sub A, B, C, and D of 712 were compared with 3-2 and 3-3. A lot of numbers, right?
yes, there are a lot of numbers, items.
Okay, I want to try, if I can, see how well it goes, to clear that up and categorize those.
Sure.
Ooh,
Perhaps,
I like
would
this.
you agree that we could put the items that you
Thank you, Hope.
compared and examined in your analysis in 4 categories: 3-2, the cup or the glass; 3-3, the bumper glass; 7-12, the 9 pieces of glass recovered by a trooper named Bukhenik at the scene; and 7-14, a single piece of glass recovered by a trooper named Proctor at the scene. Would you agree that those 4 categories are basically what you analyzed between and among each other?
Yes, there's 4 total items.
Okay. And within those items, there were some subcategories of items in some of those, correct?
Yes, because some of the items just had multiple pieces, so they were labeled just to keep track of the pieces.
Okay. So if I could ask you to take those one at a time, pardon me, 3-2, under that column visually, that would be a single item, just the cup, correct?
Correct.
3-3, under that single item, the bumper, there would be 5 sub-items, A, B, C, and D, and E.
Yes, that's correct.
Public school education. Under
I love how he
7-12,
denigrates
the
himself.
third column, there's 9 pieces, correct? A, B, C, D, E, F as in Frank, I, K, and L are the 9 glass pieces, correct?
Correct.
They're close to being alphabetical, not quite toward the end, right?
Correct. I would have to look at my report for the exact letters, but
Sure, go ahead and look at your report.
The judge is like, I'm not having any of this. Just go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so
A, B,
so the
C, D, E, F, G. We're gonna win this case against
the 9
Lally.
pieces of clear apparent glass were labeled as A, B, C, D, E, F, I, K, and L.
Okay. And then, of course, the last category would be 7-14. That's a single piece of glass that was recovered at the scene by Trooper Proctor, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Objection, Your Honor, just
So I'm going to see Counsel at sidebar for just a minute on
Too
this.
late, Lally. The answer has already been given. Bye-bye. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Hey, RJ Medic. Yeah, that was an accidental beauty that was created. I actually did not mean for that to happen.
You are
MICKEYMOUSE. This is a
So
kangaroo
the last,
court.
category we were talking about, 7-14, that was a single piece of glass, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to ask you to take your comparisons one at a time, if I can. You compared the cup in 3-2 to the 9 pieces recovered at the scene. A, B, C, D, E, F, I, K, and L, correct?
Who ordered the 9 pieces of 8 from Pirates of the Caribbean? Remember that?
Is that 7-12 you're talking about?
7-12.
Who ordered the 9 pieces of 8?
Sorry, can you say the letters again? I just don't know if I heard all of them.
A, B, C, D, E, F, I, K, L.
Yes, that's correct.
Of those pieces that I just mentioned, the cup was a match to A, B, C, D, F, and K, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Pieces E and I were compared to each other, and you matched them, correct?
So I believe I'd have to look further in my notes, but I believe E and I were found to fit together by
Physical properties, meaning mechanical properties.
yes, but I would have to check my notes, but I believe it was
It's a simple question,
the
woman.
previous analyst that looked at 7-12 that found the physical match between E and I.
But that wasn't you?
Is it okay if I look at my notes?
Sure, I don't want to get bogged down, but yes, please.
Dum 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 dum
Okay, so item 7-12 was previously examined by another analyst in the trace unit. Specifically, E and I received, when I opened this item for examination, E and I were taped together because they were found to have a physical match by the analyst who previously examined the item.
Great. Importantly, E, I, and L, however, were not found to match the cup in 3-2, correct?
That's correct.
All right. You also compared the cup in 3-2 to the 5 items recovered on the bumper in 3-3, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You also analyzed the cup in 3-2 against the 5 items, A, B, C, D, and E in 3-3, the bumper glass, correct?
I did examine I compared item 3-2 to 2 of the pieces marked as A and B from item 3-3,
And those
which
were
was
deemed not to match the cup, correct?
correct.
And you did not analyze C and D, correct? I'm assuming that's because of size.
So the rest of the items were not used for physical match examination due to size and condition.
So as you sit here, none of the items on the bumper were deemed to match the cup, correct?
Correct.
All right. So you did end up analyzing one of the items on the bumper, item E as an echo, and you analyze that against the single piece of glass found at the scene in 7-14, correct?
Correct.
And you used both, well, you used a variety, it sounds like, of analyses, including microscopy, UV light, the glass refractive index, GRIM process, correct?
That's correct.
You also use the FTIR, is that right? Infrared spectrometry?
That's incorrect.
Okay, you did not use FTIR in this analysis.
I did not.
Okay, but in the analysis that you did use, you found that there was a match between item E on the bumper and the single piece of glass in 7-14, correct?
They were found to be consistent. They are found to be consistent in physical and instrumental properties.
Okay, so importantly, you also compared the single piece of glass in our sort of visual column 4, 7-14, that single piece of glass to the cup. You found that it didn't match, correct?
Correct.
All right. So lastly, you tested the single piece of glass found in the 4th column, 7-14, against the 9 pieces of glass found in 7-12, A, B, C, D, E, F, I, K, and L, correct?
I did compare item 7-14 to item 3-2 and the 9 pieces in item 7-12.
So another way to put that would be you analyze column 4 against column 3 now, correct?
I examined them for a possible physical match.
And they did not match, correct?
There was no physical match to item 7-14.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach briefly?
Okay. Want to show Mr. Lally what you have?
Sure. I'm looking for the one that was already labeled. I don't have it. May I approach the clerk magistrate and ask if he's got WW by chance?
No, I do.
Can I borrow that from the court? Thank you. I'd like you to take a look at that document. Just glance it over for a second and let me know when you've had an opportunity to study that.
Okay.
You've taken a look at that single page document?
Yes.
Does that appear to accurately reflect in sort of a visual manner what you just testified to about your analysis of each of these pieces, irrespective of the text on the item, just the analysis of the items specified in that document?
I'm not quite sure what I've never seen this before. I'm not quite sure what
I think you have to move along, Mr. Jackson, for all the reasons we talked about at sidebar.
I understand.
Oh, wait. Oh, no.
My question is a relatively simple one. Is this a...
Never mind.
And if you
I
don't
thought I had
understand
an
something
epiphany
on
moment.
the document, just say so.
Well,
Is
I kind of
this a
do.
visual
So that means
representation of an accurate
Bev
visual
is rushing
representation of what
Jackson?
you just testified to in terms of what matched and what didn't match. Where the green matches, the circle.
Why
red
is
through a diamond.
Beverly rushing Jackson?
I would need to go through my conclusion and compare to confirm.
Fair enough. It is accurate to say, we'll use a cheat sheet for a second.
For all the reasons we
It is
discussed at
accurate to say
sidebar.
that the cup
We need to move
is
this
not found to
along?
match any items.
That's for Lally,
found
not
on
for
the
Jackson.
That's correct. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Also, it's fair to say that the piece recovered under 714, the single piece of glass recovered under 714, does not match either the cup, nor does that piece match any of the 9 pieces in
No, it's
712.
true, but it just
correct?
seemed odd to like do it right now out of nowhere.
And you can look at your notes if that's easier for you.
Like I've noticed it before,
You just
but
want the right
this one
answer,
just
Mr.
doesn't make
Jackson,
any
right?
sense.
So take
He's
your
actually
time
doing
with
a
your
good
notes
job.
if that's easier.
Oh,
for
so
you.
she can take her time, but not Jackson. Talk about bias. By the way, did you notice on Monday when Lally was screwing things up looking for paperwork? She did not ding Lally. She wasn't like, Lally, you need to get your shit together for next time. You remember what she
I'm sorry,
said?
can you just repeat the last
course.
question that you asked for?
She said, you
Single
lawyers
piece of
need to
glass,
get together and
number
decide what
714.
evidence you're going to use.
Neither matches the cup,
She was protecting
nor
Lally.
does it match any of the 9 pieces
so
found in
annoying.
712. In other words, it stands alone.
She never like dings Lally directly. Lally, you need to move this along. Come on. Hey, Bush.
So that's correct. So
Exactly, Betty.
714, there was no physical match between 714 and 3-2 or any of the pieces in 7-12.
Thank you for that. And then my final question is, the only piece of material, glass material, that was recovered from the bumper, item E, the only thing that any piece on that bumper matched was the single piece of glass found in 714. Correct?
So piece E from item 3-3 was the piece that I examined microscopically and instrumentally. It was found to be consistent in physical and instrumental properties with 7-14.
And that's the only piece of material on that bumper in that section, in other words, in 3-3, that matched anything else in your analysis. The piece that was found singularly at under 714, correct? The only match.
Yes, it was found to be consistent.
Thanks. That's all I have. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Lally?
Just briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Hanley, within item 7-12, there were 9 pieces of glass and 5 pieces of plastic, correct?
Correct.
And as far as the comparison analysis that you're conducting is concerned, why is it, as far as the pieces of plastic are concerned, why is that not part of the comparative analysis?
I did not examine the plastic pieces for physical match because there were no other plastic pieces for comparison for physical match. So I examined the glass pieces for possible physical match.
What are some of the differences between, from an elemental standpoint, as far as plastic versus glass?
Plastic is.
By the way, while I'm sitting here,
it's a type of polymer.
Streaming, getting work done on the Kieran retrial. My associate just notified us that he got another case dismissed.
Examining plastic versus glass.
That is amazing.
Something like a plastic.
That is awesome.
Something that we refer to
That's
as
what we do, folks.
anisotropic, or glass is isotropic. So they are different types of material.
Now, as far as characteristically speaking, from
Thanks,
plastic
folks.
and/or glass,
Our client is very, very happy.
analysis of those items.
Tyler prepared for that case very extensively.
Beyond the scope?
Yes.
Sustained.
Now, again, from the drinking glass that was recovered on scene, that was a match for 6 of the pieces of glass that were found on the roadway or on the ground at 34 Fairview Road, correct?
I believe it was 6. I just would have to confirm in my
Go
report.
ahead and you can go ahead and look at your notes.
The judge has like
Yes,
no
it was
patience
6
today.
pieces
She's
from
like, just
7-12.
Just go ahead. Just look at your notes. Come on, look at your
And then
notes.
It was piece E from item 3-3 from the bumper of the defendant's
Judge
vehicle
Bev has
that
like
was
no
found to be
freaking
consistent
patience
with
today.
Clear glass that was found on the ground at 34 Fairview Road, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Nothing further.
Anything?
Yes, I can pro hack Vici into Virginia.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Hanley. You are
All set.
Nope, that can stay with you. Jim, the one with all the Post-its on it, can you give me that?
The one with all the Post-its, can you give me that?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
What does she want? All right, who's next?
Your next witness, Mr. Lally?
Your Honor, may we approach?
Okay.
Why are we approaching? Early lunch? Because the next one is Trooper Bukhenik, Yuri Bukhenik. Sergeant Yuri Bukhenik reporting for duty, sir. I am here. We doctored evidence with Mr. Michael Proctor. I mean, Sergeant Michael Proctor. I mean, Mr. Michael Proctor. I mean, former police officer Mikhail Proctor, also known as proctorologist. Yes, sir. Reporting for duty. Sir, yes, sir. Ever since the Cold War, we in America are good friends. Okay, this is gonna date me. How many of you all remember the game Red Alert? Yes, comrade? Affirmative. Yes, comrade? Affirmative. When you played the Russians in the original Red Alert, not Red Alert 2. I'm talking about the original Red Alert. Command and Conquer. Yes! Oh my god, you guys remember this. This actually, Command and Conquer came before Red Alert. Command and Conquer came out in like 1996, and then Red Alert 1.
Call Sergeant Yuri Bukhenik to the
Oh, Yuri Bukhenik!
And I do
You are
have that
unmuted.
envelope, Mr. Lally. I
Yuri
have it.
Bukhenik's going on the stand!
Step for me. May stand and face the clerk.
You solemnly swear the honesty of the court and jury in the case now hears the truth.
I wonder if he speaks with an accent.
I did.
Sir, yes, sir. Sergeant Yuri Bukhenik, reporting for duty, sir. Spell your last name for the record. Bukkake.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Yes, sir. My name is Yuri Bukhenik, spelled Y-U-R-I-Y, last of B-U-K-H-E-N-I-K.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm employed by the Massachusetts State Police.
And how long have you been a trooper with the state police?
I've been a trooper since 2012.
And prior to being employed as a trooper with the state police, excuse me, what, if any, other employment or background do you have as far as law enforcement is concerned?
My law enforcement career began in 2003 when I graduated from the military police school in Fort Leonard, Missouri, while I was enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. From there, I was stationed at Quantico, Virginia, with the Marine Corps Presidential Helicopter Squadron. I provided security for the presidential helicopter and assets, attaining a top secret Yankee White clearance. I was promoted meritoriously to corporal and sergeant and had a platoon of 44 Marines. From there, I was stationed in Camp Pendleton, California, where I was a patrol supervisor on base as a military police officer. Once my enlistment ended, I decided to come home and pursue a law enforcement career here in Massachusetts in the communities that I grew up in. I first worked with the VA Hospital Police, where I attained a secret clearance, which was a requirement of the employment. After that, I worked at the Attleboro Police Department in uniform patrol, as well as the SWAT team with Attleboro, Massachusetts Police Department. In 2011, I applied for the Massachusetts State Police, graduated, and worked at the Sturbridge Barracks, Millbury Barracks, and Foxborough Barracks. In 2015, I was selected to come to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office with the detective unit and worked homicide cases as a trooper. 2021, December, I was promoted and took on a supervisory role within the unit.
Now, with respect to your work within the unit of the detective unit at the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, what, if any, specialized training did you receive in regard to your work there?
I've attended numerous homicide conferences, training in
What's his favorite
various
flavor?
aspects of digital device analysis and investigations in major crimes, homicides,
Oh
drug
my God, that was
investigations, and so
good. The
forth.
bottom three.
Now, were you working in that capacity with the State Police Detective Unit on January 29, 2022?
I was.
And were you on call that day?
I'm dying.
I was on call as a supervisor.
Now, can you explain to the jury as far as the on-call system within the detective units? Well, let me ask you this first. What, if any, duties or responsibilities do you have as a sergeant or as a supervisor with reference to on-call duty and sort of how that works?
Oh God.
As a supervisor on call, responsibilities include answering the detective that's on call, any questions that might arise. Obviously, we don't all have the same experience, so we put our heads together, and if it's a situation or case, a scene that they have not been exposed to before, they call the supervisor for guidance, suggestion, or bounce questions off of them in order to help them navigate that case.
And who was the on-call detective on this particular date of January 29th?
January 29th, the morning hours up until 7 a.m., it was Trooper Michael Proctor.
And do you know Trooper Proctor?
I do.
And how long have you known Trooper Proctor?
Since he came into the office in 2019, I believe it was September, October 2019.
And have you supervised Trooper Proctor sort of throughout his work within the office?
I have supervised him throughout my supervisory position. So his entire time in the office, while I was a supervisor, I've supervised him directly, yes.
And as far as that on-call system or that on-call rotation is concerned, how is that determined or how does that sort of come into existence?
The on-call system is formulated, it's compiled the month prior. So for example, if it was December, beginning of December, the troopers in the office would submit their days requesting not to be on call due to trials, training, personal reasons, or vacations they had planned. Those days are submitted in the beginning of the month, and then if it's in the beginning of December, for example, the on-call schedule for January is then compiled a month in advance, really.
So these are generated well in advance of whatever specific date a trooper is on call, correct?
That's correct.
And as far as the detective unit within the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, who, if anyone, is your supervisor?
Currently, my supervisor is Lieutenant Fanning, and the unit commander is Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully.
And that sort of pecking order, if you will, was that the way
Pecking
that was set up
order.
in January?
A pecking order for the Bukhenik.
Yes, it was.
Now, on this
I'm such a
morning of
child.
January
I am a
29th,
child.
2022, at some point, do you get a call in the morning, and from whom do you initially get a call?
I received a call approximately 6:44 in the morning or so from the H Troop headquarters, which is the field headquarters for the Metro Boston area, which also covers our county. And they advised me that there was a body in the
Proctor?
snowbank
I barely know
in
her.
Canton. I asked for further details and then advised them that I was not on call, but I would call the on-call trooper and let them know that there was a call out requesting their assistance. So that's what I did. I called Trooper Proctor and advised them to contact Canton Police.
And following that initial contact that you had from the H Troop and then your call to Trooper Proctor, what happened then?
Trooper Proctor began making phone calls, gathering information.
Sustained. Next question.
What was the next thing that happened as far as your involvement was concerned?
I was advised of the circumstances under which the body was located and what was transpiring. And I told Trooper Proctor that I would start shoveling out during the blizzard and then proceed to meet him in Canton to begin our investigation.
And where was it that you and Trooper Proctor first met up on that particular morning?
We met at the Canton Police Department.
And do you recall approximately what time it was that you arrived at the Canton Police Department?
It was approximately 9:15. Due to the amount of snow that was on the ground, the time that it took me to shovel out the main roads, actually no roads were plowed at the time during my track. So I decided to drive my personal truck to Canton Police Department because it was a 4-wheel drive and meet Trooper Proctor there.
Now, as far as your personal truck versus you have a work vehicle as well,
That's correct.
and you mentioned that the truck is 4-wheel drive. What is the difference between your personal truck and its capabilities in weather versus the work vehicle?
Well, at the time, there was approximately 10, 15 inches of snow that had accumulated already. My work vehicle is a sedan, low to the ground, low clearance, front-wheel drive. It would not be able to navigate the road conditions at the time. My 4-wheel drive vehicle is higher clearance from the roadway and was able to navigate the conditions at the time.
And sir, when you arrived, so at approximately 8:22 in the morning or so, where is it that you were at that point in time, if you know?
At 8:22, I would say I was still blowing the snow out of my driveway, clearing the path for my truck to leave the driveway.
And when you
Tell us
arrived
how
at
much
the
you were blowing,
police
Bukhenik.
station, you mentioned that you met Trooper Proctor
I will
there.
see myself
Do you
out.
recall who arrived first?
Trooper Proctor was in the parking lot in his vehicle, and I pulled in, backed in next to his, and we walked in together into the police department, I believe.
And when you walked into the Canton Police Station on that morning, sometime after 9 a.m., where is it that you went? Who, if anyone, did you talk to when you first got there?
We walked into the police department, were guided to the detective department division of the PD, and we met with the detectives from Canton and Sergeant Good, who was the uniform patrol sergeant and having been the first responder to the scene as well.
Now, without reference to anything that was communicated between the two of you, at some point prior to getting to the Canton Police Station, did you have conversations with Trooper Proctor?
Yes, I did.
And did Trooper Proctor make you aware of conversations that he had had with other people prior to getting to the Canton Police Station?
Objection.
No, I'll allow that. It's a yes or no.
Yes.
And so you get to the Canton Police Station, you and Trooper Proctor then proceed to talk to Sergeant Good, is that correct?
That's correct.
And again, without any reference to what was said to you by Sergeant Good, he relayed some information to you as well?
That's correct.
No, I'll allow that.
That's correct.
And if you know about how long was the period of the conversation that you had with Sergeant Good at the Canton Police Station?
The conversation with Sergeant Good was probably 25 to 30 minutes. He walked us through his...
Next question, please, Mr. Vaillier. I'm going to stop you from answering that, Sergeant.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Sergeant Bukhenik, in reference to, at some point, did you learn the name of the body or the person that was found on the lawn on Fairview Road?
Yes, I did.
Who did you learn him to be?
Mr. John O'Keefe.
And in reference to where Mr. O'Keefe's body was at that point, what, if any, information did you receive about that?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
We learned that Mr. O'Keefe's body was transported to the hospital, Good Samaritan Hospital in Brockton.
And in reference to the Good Samaritan Hospital in Brockton, who, if anyone else, were you told had been taken to that facility as well in relation to your response that morning?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
The defendant.
And just to be clear, at some points over the course of your investigation, have you had interactions with Karen Reed?
Yes, I have.
And to be clear, when we say, as far as Karen Reed, the defendant, you see her in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you identify just as to where she's seated or an article of clothing that she's wearing?
She's seated between her legal defense team wearing the white blouse.
Your Honor, that's a record reflect identification of the defendant.
Yes.
So upon having that conversation with Sergeant Good at the Canton Police Station, where is it that you and Trooper Proctor went next?
From the Canton Police Department, we proceeded to the McCabe residence.
And that was over on Country Lane, is that correct?
That's correct, number 12, Country Lane.
And when you arrived there, as far as transportation to that, is it you and Trooper Proctor in the same vehicle?
Yes, I made the decision to drive us. That way we only take one vehicle. In addition to Trooper Proctor being able to make phone calls and facilitate other logistics as necessary, allowed him that freedom to do so while I operated the vehicle in the dangerous snow conditions.
And the snow conditions that you were talking about as far as clearing out your driveway, the drive to the Canton Police Station, did those conditions persist throughout the day of the 29th?
Yes, they did.
And so you make your way over to the McCabe residence, again, without anything that was said. Who, if anyone, did you speak with at the McCabe residence that morning?
We first spoke with Miss Jennifer McCabe. We then spoke with Mr. Matt McCabe. And then we spoke with Mr. Brian Albert.
And with reference to each of those conversations, were they done collectively or separately, or how were those interviews conducted?
Each interview was conducted separately. We first interviewed Miss Jennifer McCabe with request of Mr. McCabe to give us privacy. He proceeded upstairs. Once we were done with that interview, Mr. McCabe came downstairs, and Miss McCabe gave us the same courtesy. And once that interview was over, Mr. Brian Albert had arrived, and we interviewed him briefly.
Is that sort of the typical process of how at least your unit conducts interviews with respect to civilians?
Yes, with cooperating civilians, we typically advise them they were going to be, we schedule an interview. We proceed to their location of convenience and separate them and get their version of recollection of events that we are inquiring about.
Now, after you spoke with those three individuals, so yourself and Trooper Proctor at the McCabe residence, where is it that you and Trooper Proctor went next?
We proceeded to the Good Samaritan Hospital in Brockton.
And where within the Good Samaritan Hospital did you go?
We went to the emergency department.
And within the emergency department, were you led to a specific room?
Yes, we were.
And what, if anything, did you observe when you were in that room?
Once in the room, we observed Mr. O'Keefe's body on the medical bed or gurney, and his clothing, which had been cut off of him, were on the floor at the foot of the bed, a couple of feet away at the foot of the bed.
Now, first, with regard to the clothing, what, if anything, did you do with regard to that?
After viewing Mr. O'Keefe's body, we proceeded to identify the clothing items and bag them into evidence bags, notating which item and a brief description about each item of clothing.
So let me ask you just a little bit about that as far as that process is concerned. So when an item of evidence is collected by you or by your units during the course of an investigation, is there sort of a policy or a protocol, or how are things, what do you do with things when you collect them and take them into custody and evidence?
If we deem an item to be of evidentiary value, we identify the item, we take a brief description of it, and we label the evidence bag with that description. We notate who's taking the item into custody, typically who located the item, the time that it's located, and the location from which it was seized or taken or collected.
And with regard to items of clothing, is that something that would be placed in just one big bag of clothes, or like how would those be packaged in evidence bag?
Mr. O'Keefe's clothing, which was already in one big pile on the floor, we packaged all.
Okay, jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch.
What did I miss? Anything interesting? I imagine no. Not yet. Cross-examination hasn't started yet. Giggity. That's why we haven't missed anything interesting. But fill me in. What has he testified to worth a damn? Don't give me the Cliff's notes. I don't even care about that. Anything that like is worth noting. I know it's a sidebar right now, yeah. A juror is crying? Oh, come on now.
And so I'm sorry, Sergeant Bukhenik, when you come into the hospital room where Mr. O'Keefe's body was, there's clothing items that are on the floor, is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you recall how those clothing items were in relation to each other, in relation to the floor?
They were positioned on the floor in a pile stacked on top of each other, and they were in the condition of being soaking wet.
Oh, Mrs.
And
O'Keefe
with
was
respect
tearing
to
up.
those
Oh, no.
clothing items, do you recall what those clothing items were?
Oh, no.
Yes, sir.
And what were
They were a plaid pair of boxer underwear. It was a orange colored design print t-shirt. It was a blue pair of Lucky brand jeans, a belt, two-tone gray, light, thin hooded sweatshirt, and a right sneaker, black in color with white design and a Nike brand.
And how many sneakers were there contained within that property?
One right sneaker.
And what, if any, observations did you make of the condition beyond them being soaking wet?
I also recognized, due to the aroma and visual observations, traces of vomit on the clothing.
Traces of vomit?
With regard to those items that you observed on the floor, what, if anything, did you and or Trooper Proctor do with reference to those clothing items? Objection.
I'll allow that.
Once we went through the clothing, we collected each item and put it into a large evidence bag. We double bagged it due to the wetness of the clothing, so it would not seep through. We also identified the fact that there was only one sneaker. So I requested that Trooper Proctor contact the paramedics that transported Mr. O'Keefe from 34 Fairview to the hospital and have them once again check their ambulance to see if there was another sneaker inadvertently left behind in the ambulance vehicle.
Now, prior to sort of physically touching this or any other piece of evidence, what, if any, other sort of precautions
What?
do you take prior to handling?
What does that even mean,
tactile
Matrix?
handling any piece of evidence?
Anytime we handle evidence, which obviously we take great caution not to destroy, alter, or discard any evidence, we also put on gloves in order to help preserve that item.
And in reference to these items or items of anything of evidentiary value that you seize as evidence, once you take it and secure it into an evidence bag, what happens to it from there?
Once it's secure in the evidence bag, it is sealed and logged into our evidence storage facility at the office. And then as necessary, it is signed out, shipped off for processing,
You're welcome.
review,
No, I don't
or
play
court
anything.
proceedings.
And as far as that sealing is concerned, how are bags or boxes of items of evidentiary value, how are they sealed?
Once the bag is,
I'll allow it. I'll
What-
allow it.
thank you, Your Honor. Once the bag is sealed, it's utilized, we utilize tape, typically red or yellow tape. Once it's secured, we initial and date the tape on the edge. That procedure helps identify the time and date it was sealed and by who with the initials.
And then once that bag or box is sealed, if that bag or box is subsequently opened at a later time, what if any notation or what if any recordation of that is made?
Anytime a piece of evidence is signed out for review, it's logged in the tracking system. In addition, anytime a piece of evidence is open, with a container being the bag or a box is open and the tape is cut, it is then resealed.
Hey guys, what is the significance of this photo? Why is Karen Reed's dad pointing to Yuri Bukhenik? Yuri Bukaki. What is the significance of this? Does anybody know? I just stumbled upon this. Everyone was booing him this morning. Because he knows he lied.
Evidence officers.
Thank you.
Those individuals have access to the secure rooms designated strictly for evidence storage. Those rooms are inventoried and kept under
What a shock.
not just lock and key, but also digital access control and alarm systems. They are the only ones that have access to those facilities, in addition to our unit commander. But I'll tell you that our unit commander does not access that room without the evidence officers. I myself, even as a supervisor, do not have access to that room.
You don't have access to that evidence room, is that correct?
That's correct.
Was Trooper Proctor, is he one of those evidence officers? Did he have access to that room?
He does not.
As far as at the time in January of 2022, who were the troopers within your office who did have access to that?
In January 2022, that would be Trooper Jeff Kakowski and Trooper David DeChico.
And that would be in addition to Lieutenant Tully, is that correct?
Detective Lieutenant Tully, I believe, has access to it, but I cannot speak to that. I just believe that he does, as a unit commander, to facilitate any next assignment.
Now, with reference to any items that you were physically present for that were taken into custody or taken into evidence, including that clothing from the hospital on January 29th and any other items throughout the course of this investigation, when they were taped and sealed, what happened with each of those items once they were taken back to your office?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Each item that was sealed, it was processed in, it was logged in, and then it was stored. After processing, it was stored in the evidence room.
That is correct, Disabled
Now-
Dahlia. Very observant. That's exactly what I was eating.
Referring back to the Good Samaritan Hospital, within that hospital room, you made mention that you secured items and that you made observations of Mr. O'Keefe, is that correct?
That's correct.
And can you describe for the jury?
By the way, he's not Russian. I
as far as
believe he's
Mr. O'Keefe's
Ukrainian.
body, what were those observations that you made?
I'm doing some research on him.
Mr. O'Keefe's body was laying on his back. The observations I made were of bruising to the eyelids of his face. Based on my experience and having cases with head trauma, I can tell you that
Head trauma.
during subdural hematoma,
Yeah, I'll sustain the objection. You can build a foundation if you can, Mr. Lally.
Over the course of your work with this unit in particular, if you know about how many homicide or let me step into it this way. As far as your work within this unit, as far as it's concerned, what, if any, jurisdiction does the State Police Detective Unit of the District Attorney's Office have with reference to not only homicide, but death investigations within Norfolk County?
by statute, Chapter 38, Section 4, each county, the district attorney's office is provided jurisdiction over all death investigations. As a result, the law enforcement entities that are assigned to that Norfolk or that district attorney perform the investigations. In Norfolk County, those individuals are members of the Massachusetts State Police assigned to the State Police Detective Unit within our office.
And so as far as death investigations, what exactly or what type of investigations would that encompass?
Death investigations that we have jurisdiction over are all unattended deaths. Unattended death means that a physician, a doctor, is not overseeing the individual that passes. Those deaths would be suicides, homicides, overdose type deaths, natural deaths, accidental deaths, and so forth. Any type of death that is not overseen by a doctor at a medical facility or in a hospice type situation.
So as a result of your assignment to this unit and that sort of exclusivity of jurisdiction over unattended deaths within Norfolk County, if you know approximately how many death investigations have you been a part of over the course of your work with the State Police Detective Unit?
Over the last 9 years, I would venture to say it's over 500 death investigations that I was a part of.
And Sergeant, over the course of your involvement within those investigations, if you know how many of those investigations involved some indication or some type of head trauma?
Scores of investigations that involve some sort of head trauma.
And through the course of your investigations, in those cases that have involved scores of head trauma, have you been privy to information as far as medical findings, autopsy reports, things of that nature in relation to those prior investigations?
Yes, sir, I have been.
Now, with regard to your observations of Mr. O'Keefe, with regard to his eyelids.
Poll on our
what, if
lunch
any,
for our fun.
What, if any, observations did you make? And
What kind of
what, if
poll,
any,
Jay Waterwolf?
Well, I mean, sorry, just with physical
A lot of
observations,
justifying using
any
personal
physical
vehicle on
observations
129. Yeah, that was a little
face
interesting,
and
wasn't it?
body in general.
His face, I observed the swelling and the discoloration being produced through the blood pooling in the eyelids.
Again, yeah.
So just your observation, so the swelling and discoloration.
Move to strike. That last part.
I'll strike the remainder of what you've said.
I also observed a cut to his nostril and an eyelid, which was very small in size, which would have been produced by a...
Objection.
Yeah, so we'll leave it at that. Next question, Mr. Lally.
What a
Based on,
scumbag.
your training experience, what, if any?
I hate this guy
symptoms
so
or
much.
Opinions that you have in regard to the swelling around the eyes?
Objection.
Yeah, I'll see you at sidebar here.
Come on. He's trying to say it's a small cut produced by likely a vehicle striking his face. You are not a medical examiner. You're not a medical professional. You are not a medical analyst. You're not a coroner. You're not a doctor. You're not a nurse. You're not a nurse practitioner. You're not a licensed practicing nurse. You are not a registered nurse, sir. You are not any of those things, you trash bag. God, what a scummy, horrible human being. Proctor and Bukhenik are evil men.
So Sergeant Bukhenik, with reference to your prior death investigations, have you had occasion to make observations of bodies that there was a later determination of some sort of subdural hemorrhage?
Yes.
I'll allow that. Have you made those observations? Have you been part of those investigations?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
And what you observed in regard to Mr. O'Keefe, was that consistent or inconsistent with what you had observed on those prior investigations?
Objection.
That I'll allow.
It was consistent.
Now, in addition to the injuries that you observed to Mr. O'Keefe,
He's a doctor of evidence.
what,
That's a
if any,
good
injuries
name for
did you
him.
observed to his extremities?
His extremities produced abrasions to his upper forearm and lower bicep area on his right arm.
And just as you use that term, I'm not asking for any sort of medical definition, but As far as you use that term abrasions, what do you understand that term?
I understand that term to be a injury sustained through blunt force trauma or friction to the epidermis of the skin, where a crushing of the vascular system occurs and produces that type of sign on the skin.
And from your observation of the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's arm, which arm was this again?
It was his right arm.
And as far as your observation of those injuries to his right arm, what, if any, as far as the consistency of those injuries, what, if anything, did you note or observe in reference to those?
Objection, yeah.
Consistency with what? With the,
Let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
How were the abrasions that you're describing positioned in relation to each other?
Each abrasion appeared to me to be linear and concentrated in a specific location on the arm. It didn't go any further north of a point and did not go any further south of a point. So it was concentrated in the elbow, a few inches below the elbow, a few inches above the elbow on the right arm.
Now, while you were at the Good Samaritan Hospital, did you endeavor to speak with Ms. Reed?
We did attempt to, yes.
And was she present at the hospital at that time?
No, she was not.
And at some point subsequent to that, did you receive, or what, if any, information did you receive as to her whereabouts?
We were made aware that she was located at 345 Country Hill Drive in Dayton at her parents' home.
And where did you go from the Good Samaritan Hospital once you left from there?
We proceeded to that location.
Now, sir, with reference to the items of clothing that you recovered from the Good Samaritan of Mr. O'Keefe's, do you have those items of clothing with you here today in court?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask that the witness be allowed to retrieve those items and display those items.
okay, are they in the courtroom?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, yes,
May I approach?
yes.
John, thank you for joining the channel.
How
Welcome to
many
the channel
items
as
are
a
we
new
talking
member.
about? Okay. Jurors, if we go a little past one, my intention would be to still just take a half-hour lunch today and come back. So I'd rather just go through this if we could.
Sergeant, you see with this item, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
The sweatshirt from the hospital room where Mr. O'Keefe was located.
And Your Honor, the call will seek to introduce and admit that as the next exhibit.
Okay, any objection, Mr. Jackson?
Sort of need to see what's in the bag before I can object, but on
So-
principle, no.
Okay, all right, so you've received photos of all of this, right?
I assume what's in the bag is what's been photographed, but until I see it, I won't know.
All right, so let's go ahead and open it.
With the court's permission?
Yes.
The glove fits, you must have quit. Yeah, I was literally just thinking about John's parents having to see this sitting there. What remains of their child. Have we ever seen this before? Look at this. Look at how ripped up it is.
No objection.
Those are dog bites. Oh my
So Ellie, why
God.
don't you come take the bag?
Don't they look like dog bites?
Yes.
Put it back in the bag.
It's in evidence, and we'll put that back in the bag.
Man, they look like they've been ripped up by a dog.
Okay.
It is shredded. A car would never shred your sweatshirt like that.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I need you another item, sir. Do you recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
Says it's a one orange T-shirt.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, if the witness could remove that item and display it for the jury as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's supposed to be from a car. That's supposed to be from a car.
No objection.
Okay.
Commonwealth drinks are shaken and stirred. That's true.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Another item, sir. Do you recognize that?
Yes, it's the right sneaker recovered from the hospital room.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if the witness could
Excuse me.
remove that item from
Yes.
the bag. Display it for the jury.
The judge is like, yeah. Just keep it moving. Sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit. Ugh.
Okay.
Judge is not happy. Somebody said, if your if your German Shepherd dog identifies as a Lexus, then maybe it would shred your clothing. Did Chloe ever identify as a Lexus SUV? I'm tweeting that. That's too brilliant. There's John's brother. I forget his name. It's not Brian. I like how he's looking at the item and looking at Karen. Item, Karen. Karen, item, Karen. Item, Karen Glare. Paul, thank you. Paul O'Keefe, that's right. It's so fake. It's so manufactured. It has no emotion. They're trying, like, I think the prosecution told him before the case started, like, your job is to glare at Karen. Your job is to glare at her as much as possible. But if I'm, like, truly angry, you know, like, if I'm looking at you like this every day and I'm like, you know, that takes a lot of mental energy if you're manufacturing it. But if you're just doing this, there's no emotion. I'm just staring at you, right? But if I'm looking at you like this, it would take a lot of energy to constantly be like so hateful, unless it's natural. If it's natural, then the feeling comes and you just feel it. So the fact that he's not manufacturing it because he gets exhausted sitting there for 8 hours a day, every day, manufacturing a fake emotion, and then just staring at her like this, like you feel nothing. You feel nothing when you look at him as he looks at her. You feel nothing. I feel nothing. Thank you so much for the 1 gifted membership, Lori Ann. Shout out if you got a gifted membership from Lori.
Continue, Sergeant.
You are unmuted.
You're all set, Mr. Bukhenik. They are assigned at random, Chad.
All
So
right, Mr. Lally.
you can't like sign up for one. You have, unless you buy it yourself. There's the join button right down here if you
Yes, I'm
want.
going to look. Thank you.
If you want to join.
May I approach one last time? My apologies.
Your Honor, I guess I should have said no objection with what we discussed.
I understand.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness again?
Yes.
From that set, do you recognize that?
Yes, it's a bag containing a blue jeans, black belt, and plaid boxer shorts.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, may the witness remove just the jeans and the belt from the back?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. You can return that to the bag, sir. Your Honor, the Commonwealth will seek to introduce and admit as the next exhibit.
Okay.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. So are you not displaying the third item, but it's going into evidence? Or is it just the jeans and the belt going into evidence?
The jeans and the belt into evidence, Your Honor, with the court's permission.
So we can mark the bag and we'll remove the third item during a break.
Mama Cat says, Larry, I really don't think she did this. And what's sad is she really can't
Thank
even grieve. Exactly. Jay
All
Water
right,
says,
so Sergeant, you'll be with us this afternoon. Why don't we take
great.
our lunch and recess? It's only going to be about a half an hour.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so folks, we'll see you back here, let's say no later than 1:40, okay?
1:40. Okay. 1:40. We'll be back at 1:40. I think the stream is set for 1:30, but I'll do it at 1:40. I tweeted an article on your ex post on not being a doctor about Yuri's relationship with others. Thank you very much, Jay Water. I really appreciate that. Wow, I can't wait for this afternoon, folks. I don't know if we're going to get to the cross today. I hope we do. And also, I'm going to be really, really upset if Proctor testifies on Friday because I'm not going to be streaming, and I'm going to be so sad if I miss it. But we shall see. We shall see. I'll be streaming tomorrow, but not Friday. Tomorrow, but not Friday. Tomorrow, but not Friday. Thanks everybody for joining me. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this additional recap of, well, not recap, I should say live stream of Karen Reed and the murder trial, how they are falsely accusing a woman of a murder she did not commit. Wait, oh, that's right, they're off Friday. Oh, thank God, there's no court Friday. Oh my God. Well, I'm still not going to be back Monday. I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. He might testify Monday. So we're doing this afternoon. So I'll see you guys in 30 minutes. We are doing tomorrow morning, and we're doing this afternoon. We're doing tomorrow morning. No court Friday. That's correct. That is correct. But Monday, if he testifies Monday, I'm still going to be upset because I'm going to be flying Monday. But I might be able to stream it while we're driving because we'll be driving a lot on Monday. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to try and finagle. Depends on who testifies. If it's going to be Proctor, I'll find a way. It'll just be mobile and maybe glitchy and stuff, but I don't want to miss it. So we'll see you guys in about 35 minutes. Bye, everybody.